folks. Welcome back to Tea Time. We're doing another one relatively quick after the first one. And before you ask, no, my hair is not just spiky down the middle.
I asked, so
I know the headphones make it look weird, but it looked really cool today, and I'm actually kind of proud of how it turned out, because normally my hair just doesn't do anything. Although that does look really funny.
I understand what you mean. It's normal for me. It's either bed hair or it's fine.
Yeah, I have those two little pieces of hair that are just like standing up right in the middle that make it look like they're, just
It's
solid.
cool.
There we go. Now I have more spiky parts. Less spiky parts.
I'll trust you since I can't see it.
So anyway, today we are drinking... crap, I forgot to bring the box in here with me.
Whoa, I'm not drinking that. I don't drink crap, sorry.
We are drinking, it's a green tea that I got, and I really actually like this green tea, which is funny because I normally don't like green tea. And I actually need to lift and let it seep. This green tea, when it's in its dried form, smells very, very much like grass. Like most green teas, it smells like grass, but don't let that throw you off. It does have a very earthy flavor to it, but green tea can be very, very good. So now that I've whatever the hell you call that, do it. Let's pour it out. I have not had this particular type of green tea recently.
Just because?
Just because.
Just because. Do you have any other tea you actually have not had before? Because I know you tried the last time.
I have a couple of teas that I bought from Christmas that I haven't had before. I haven't tried them yet. But this is really, really hot. I actually let my water get to a rolling boil before I poured it in there. I did let it cool off before, before I put it in the pot, but it was really, really hot.
Hey, that's the best way.
And I pulled out my traditional Japanese, well, not traditional Japanese, but my more Japanese-looking teapot tea set to drink it with, because I'm actually having sushi while we do this tea time.
Yeah. I'm having spaghetti. I'm not as fancy.
No. But you are having green tea.
I am, actually. I am. I am having some, and I'll read the title because otherwise I'll forget. Orange, passion fruit, and jasmine. Really love jasmine tea, so I will normally have a little bit of that. I'm just finishing up this now. It's bagged.
Did you actually just pull, is that a loose leaf blend? Or did you pull out varying types of bagged tea to put in your pot when you brewed it?
Here's what I did. Just alone, this is actually too strong if I use a whole bunch of it. So what I'll normally do is get a bunch of just generico green tea and then mix it in with one of these orange, passion fruit, and jasmine. It doesn't, because if I do all of it just as orange, passion fruit, and jasmine, it tastes really bitter. It's too strong. But with this, it's just the right combination. It's about 1/3 flavoring and then 2/3 the other generic stuff.
This particular tea that I'm trying, again, I apologize, I didn't bring the container in here with me, so I have no clue what the name is, because I'm horrible with names. Normally when I'm telling you the name of something, I'm reading it off of the little label that I have on the container. But this particular tea's flavoring, it's very mild for a green tea. It smells very earthy, much like grass when you're smelling it loose, but smelling it right now, it smells almost actually like an oolong. And it has a very smooth flavor like oolong too. In this particular one, you use 1 teaspoon of the loose leaf per 8 ounces. I actually use 2 per my little teapots, and about a tablespoon of German rocks sugar per pot, because I generally don't like teas without sugar in them.
I don't know. I normally drink them without sugar unless it's actually sweet tea.
Yeah, I don't like the bitter aftertaste that tea has a tendency to leave in it when you don't sweeten it. When you sweeten it, you still get the full flavor of the tea, but you don't have to deal with the bitter aftertaste. I know some people that's their favorite part of drinking tea is the bitter aftertaste with it. That's just not me.
Yeah, I totally get that. I just normally before I get my sweet in the sweet tea.
Yeah. But this one's really good. I don't actually have a whole lot to say about it. It has a really smooth, calm flavor. It doesn't taste like grass when it's brewed. I know some green teas that actually come out tasting like, that leave you, their earthy flavor is so strong that it actually tastes like grass liquid.
It's like to lick the underside of a lawnmower,
Yeah. I generally
which I have
don't
done
care for
before.
those. What?
Yeah. We know
Why?
how people are always using that expression, it tastes like I licked the underside of a lawnmower or something equivalent to that. When I
No,
was little,
actually, when you just used it just now, that was the first time I'd had
really?
heard that expression.
Maybe it's just my family.
Probably.
But
Possibly.
when I was little, I wanted to see what that actually tastes like. And it's not good. It's not good. It tastes a lot like oil.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that would be very tasty. Now, I'm sure some of you are going to ask. I'm actually having eel nigiri, and I've got some eel rolls here without the avocado because I can't actually eat the avocado. But that's the sushi that I'm having, and it's delicious. It's my favorite sushi by far.
You're making me kind of want some sushi, but alas. Yeah, I know. You're lucky I can't see it.
I totally would have shared if you were here. I actually bought Brothers some California rolls.
Uh,
Yeah.
we have some really nice sushi places around here, but fortunately, I haven't been there in a while. It's really cool. There's this one place where you can get this whole platter, a sampler platter, and they make it on this little bridge. Like there's literally a Japanese style bridge, and they build the sushi and place it on there.
Oh, wow. So the sushi is built into a bridge.
Basically, yes.
That's pretty cool.
Ugh.
Like, really cool.
It is. I mean, it's expensive as everything, but it feeds a couple people. All right. So, I don't actually know the topic today.
Well, today we are going to talk about something that I'm very excited about.
Uh-oh. Lay it on
Buying
me.
a car.
Buying a car. Okay.
Buying a car.
Is this spurred by recent events?
Yep. Well, okay, recent and soon to be events.
Aha. So you were looking today or browsing?
A little bit more than that.
So you went past browsing and you went to buying.
Sort of.
All right. So explain us all.
Okay, so I currently have a 2012 Dodge Caliber, which I bought new around the time that I found out I was pregnant with Jaina. Now, it is an awesome car. Don't get me wrong. I actually love everything about the car except driving it.
What's wrong with driving it?
I don't like it.
Well, okay.
No, there is a specific, a couple of specific reasons. The car is it's a mid-sized hatchback 4-door, or five-door. If you're one of those weird people that count the hatch as a door. And it is, it's a mid-sized, so it's a heavier car, but it has the same engine in it that you would find in something a lot smaller and a lot lighter, say, brain die, a Honda Fit.
Okay.
And when you push down on the accelerator, it goes at a nice, slow, and steady pace. And you have to depress the gas pedal to the floor, ramp your RPMs to like 4,000 or 5,000 before it starts to engage in active acceleration.
That sounds like an older car I had, but continue on.
And that frustrates me to no end. It actively bothers me every morning and every afternoon whenever I'm going to work and coming home from work. And it doesn't bother me so much in town, accelerating from a stoplight or a stop sign, because generally I'm very conservative with my acceleration and deceleration inside the city to conserve gas mileage. But getting onto the interstate, I want to be able to merge onto the interstate easier.
Yeah, that's a problem with low acceleration cars for sure.
Yeah. Especially when
Trust me, I know.
when you're on a long ramp and the person in front of you decides they're going to drive
Oh
20
yeah.
until right before they're supposed to merge.
It's called the acceleration ramp for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, I completely get where you're coming from because I used to have a '79 Chevette, and that
Oh,
had
Lord.
no acceleration at all.
Well, you want to know what's really funny?
Hmm?
Before I bought the Caliber, I drove. I'm gesturing with my chopsticks, by the way, Snark.
Okay.
Before I bought the Caliber, I drove a '94 Volvo sedan. I don't remember what its number was or whatever, but it was a '94 Volvo sedan, four-door sedan. For those of you who aren't aware of this, Volvos are built like a tank, especially older Volvos. Especially older Volvos. The things are made out of steel. That is a heavy car.
Yes.
However, my '94 Volvo had a turbo in it. So when I put my foot on the gas pedal, it went.
Which is good.
Yeah, I would be driving along and I'd like turn out of my subdivision, turn out of my community onto the main road to be, to accelerate to go up to the stop and not be paying attention and look down and I'm doing 80 in a residential area
Yeah.
with a
Could
stop
be a little bit of a
sign
problem.
20 feet in front of me.
So you're saying it had good brakes
It
too.
had very good brakes.
Good. I mean, I'm assuming I'm talking to you right now, so I know it had good brakes.
Well, I could. They're built like a tank, so whoever I hit would have been far worse off than me.
True. That is very true. I mean, the scene from Back to the Future comes to mind where they discuss the differences between a car built with steel and a car that's not. Yes. But, so you basically went from that to something. Did you have any cars in between that?
Sort of. I actually, I was actually carless for several months, which wasn't that big of a deal because I lived a 5-minute drive from my work, so 5-minute drive coordinates to about a 20-minute walk.
Yeah, not that bad.
And it was pretty, it was summertime, so I would just walk to work. But for a short while, I actually did temporarily have a Nissan Versa hatchback.
Now, I'm a little bit car stupid, so when someone says a so-and-so, unless I've actually owned one before, I
Nissan
probably
Versa
don't know what it
is their small end economy subcompact hatchback.
Okay.
So it's a little teeny tiny car made of plastic
Okay.
with a
That gives a
little
better picture.
four-cylinder engine in it, but it's so teeny tiny and light that when you put the gas, push down on the gas, it just kind of goes. It doesn't
Right.
go nearly as well as my '94 with the turbo in it, but I mean it had a turbo.
Right. Okay.
Turbo. So I went out and I actually bought my Caliber brand new. And I made the mistake when I was buying my Caliber of being self-conscious about the fact that there was a stranger riding in the car with me, and I don't think I did this consciously, but I actively changed my driving style to be a more conservative, cautious driver.
Okay. Yeah, I know
Very
what you mean there.
smooth, slow, steady acceleration. Very smooth, slow, steady deceleration. No trying to take the 90-degree turn at 50 because it's fun.
I know what you mean. Whenever I have a passenger, I normally unconsciously go a little slower, a little more conservative driving, like you just said. I understand.
See, I don't always do that. I only do that whenever I'm with someone that either I haven't driven with before, I haven't driven with them in the car before. It's a child, or if it's somebody that I know that actively has issues being the passenger of a car. Which I know several people that are actively like that. My mother is one. My mother will freak out. Even though she knows I'm a good driver, she will freak out if she is the passenger.
See, it's kind of the opposite for me. If I have someone like my mother and who spooks a little bit easy, I just got to say, you got to drive a little bit erratic so that'll spook them, just for fun.
Not with my mother. When my mother
No.
spooks, she will. It's
It's bad.
scary.
Oh, I My mother's probably gotten used to it by now, but we'll be driving down the road or something. I'll be driving. The car's coming the other way, just drive along. And, oh no! Just pretend to turn into them. Listen to the screams. It's great.
No.
But with everyone else, I normally drive a lot more conservatively. I don't know. I guess it's just because, I don't know, afraid of hurting him if I get into a big crash, so.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's never happened. But, okay, so you got it, and you subconsciously were driving slower, more conservatively when you're doing it. So I guess you didn't really notice the acceleration issues because of that?
Because I was accelerating slow and steady. I didn't attempt to accelerate faster. And I wasn't driving I was even driving more conservative. I am not a reckless driver, guys, okay? I'm a very safe driver. I've been in a lot of car accidents throughout my life. And some really bad car accidents throughout my life. I actually had my right ear ripped off and the eardrum ripped in half when I was in preschool.
Ow.
I was in preschool. I don't actually remember it. Plus, I had a fairly bad concussion along with that.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Actually, it does. I have some memory issues, some long-term memory issues, and behind your head, like right in this area, I'm showing them. It's like behind your ear in the lower right-hand side of your brain. Yeah, like right there.
Okay.
Is where the part of your brain that scientists believe is where you store your long-term memories, or where long-term memories are created. Because there's like the RAM in your brain that keeps, your active short-term memory, and then there's the hard drive that keeps, your long-term stuff. And that part of the hard drive part of your brain is like right there. And when I did that, that's the side of my head that I hit. And it is theorized, although they haven't put me in any kind of machinery or something, that accident actually caused some bruising on my brain while my brain was still developing, which may have caused something to have gone, to have not necessarily gone wrong, but to have been maybe bruised or shrunk or something, to where it's not as effective as someone else would be. So I'm actually not able to clearly recall any memories before I'm like 12 years old.
Really?
Yeah. I actively have a hard time remembering things from high school.
Oh, that's normally, it's normally when you're really young that happens, I guess, at least for me.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
I
possible
actively
that
have a hard time. Now, it's not that they aren't there, I just have a hard time recalling them. Because I will occasionally have something happen. Sorry, rice was falling off of my sushi roll. I will occasionally have something happen that will trigger a memory, and that memory comes back really, really strong. And I can remember lots of very vivid details about it, but I can't access those memories voluntarily. Like, I can't just sit here and think about, okay, I want to remember the events around enrolling into my 8th grade year.
Okay. So basically, it sounds like you kind of have a problem looking over the index. The memory's still there. You just have to kind of stumble on it randomly.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. But it doesn't really affect your long-term memory past high school, or has it been getting gradually?
I don't know. See, it's a time frame. I used to be able to actively remember that stuff.
But as you've gotten older, it's kind of.
But as I get older, it gets harder and harder to recall stuff. So, like right now, I can actively remember stuff from 10 years ago.
Mhm.
It's 11 years now. I can actively remember back to when I was 15. Like, I can sit here and I can think about going and buying my car, because I bought my first car when I was 15, and I can remember being told, I can remember conversations about it, and I can voluntarily pull that up like I'm doing right now. And I can picture, we were sitting, it was around May, but right before I turned 15, and we were sitting there around the dinner table. We had pork chops, beans, and cornbread for dinner, and my stepdad started talking to me about buying a car, informed me that I was going to have to buy my own car, but that he was going to help me find a car and help me, and of course they would help me find it since I was 14. You can't sign
Right.
a contract by yourself. You're not even allowed to sign it. Not just you have to have a co-signer. You're just not even allowed to sign it.
Right.
So we started going through and doing and talking about that, and I can actively remember the conversation, not word for word, of course, but I can remember that conversation back to when I was right before I turned 15.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the summer of my sophomore year. I cannot remember the summer before that. I know I went to band camp. I started freshman marching. I remember that. I can remember the fact that we did it in the parking lot at the school. I can even tell you about my very first boyfriend that happened that year, my freshman year. But I don't really remember any of the details.
I don't know. I don't know if that's altogether odd because, for example, I can't during my high school age, and I don't recall
When
a whole
was your
lot of
first
stuff
girlfriend?
expressed. When was my first girlfriend?
Yes.
See, I don't even remember how old I was. It was back there, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Or not 6 or 7 years ago, it'd
I
be
was about
further
to say,
back.
Snark.
It was about,
Were you majorly introverted in high
it's about
school?
10, actually. Because I'm sorry, I was in the mode where I was thinking that I was in high school at 20. No. No. Actually, fun fact, I was actually homeschooled. So,
Oh,
yes. That's a whole nother topic, though.
that totally is another topic. As is talking about my memory.
Yes. Yes, we kind of gotten off on a tangent here. We were discussing about the car. You said the 2012 one
Hmm.
had not been up to your performance standards, the acceleration mainly.
Yeah, and it truly is, guys. That car is an awesome car. If you don't do, and once I'm on the interstate, it's fine. Inside the city, due to the way that I drive, it's fine. But I have to get onto the interstate every morning when I go to work, and I have to get off of the I have to get onto the interstate every morning when I leave work.
I'm guessing that's one of those things where you actively think about, oh crap, I've got to get an interstate, which is,
It's not even that. It's a when it happens. But it
well,
happens every single day. There aren't days where I don't think about it.
yeah. And I think that's a sign that you're having trouble with the car if you actually have to think about or you dread doing a particular part of your
I
drive.
don't actively dread doing it. It's not until it's happening that I don't like it. It's just every single day and it happens and I don't like it. And you know what? I've been thinking about it for a long time, talking about I won't buy another Caliber. Because they don't actually offer one that has a better engine in it. They do offer an upgraded model for mine, but it just has extra features inside. So I've actively been thinking about, I want another car. I don't like this, but I've been sitting there and I've just been thinking about it. But that's how I operate. I think about something for a while, and then I decide I'm going to do it.
Yep. Not
Generally,
that
I
uncommon.
decide I'm going to do it completely out of the blue.
So would you
So,
say you're an impulse buyer?
no, not really, because I actively think about the purchase, and it will be months and months and months that I'll contemplate this. And then, I'll be leaning toward it, and I'll be leaning toward it, and I just won't decide. And then I'll just, a day will hit, and I'll say, okay, I'm doing this.
All right. So it sounds like basically you thought about getting a new car for months and months, and then eventually you decided to
I've
yes.
been thinking about getting a new car since, like, the second week that I had this one.
That's pretty bad.
I've had the car for 2 years. This
I
is
know.
2014. That's a 2012. I bought it new.
So you have had 2 years to contemplate what you want to get.
Sort of. I haven't actively been contemplating what uh, what are they called? It's not brand.
Model.
It's not model. Wait, no, it is model. No, it's
Okay.
not model. The one above model.
Class. I don't know.
No, it's
Like I
like the
said,
Ford, GM, Honda.
I'm
What's
I
the big
am
word for
not
that?
very. I
There's a big word for that. Ugh, whatever. I
I
haven't
don't.
actively
I'm car
been
stupid, so I don't
considering.
know.
I'm not car stupid. I just don't know the lingo.
Well, I don't know either. Hang on. Hang on. Car classifications. Maybe that'll clear this up.
Maker, make,
Maker.
maker.
Okay. So the make.
Yeah, the make and model. I haven't even been considering, the make of what car I wanted to get, much less the model or the year. I went in. I actually today I just went in. Well, I'm not going to talk about that yet, but I thought about, these are the features that are important to me and what I want. And to each their own. Everybody decides their own way of buying a car. Oh, and yes, I do hold my chopsticks really, really weird, but I can't physically hold them the right way.
I don't know. I never. I've seen it done several ways. I don't know if there is one right way.
I don't know, but um, there are things that are extremely important to me. That and what brand, what make the car is, what model the car is. That doesn't really matter with me. What matters are these specific things. I want these features, and they're really simple. I have three really simple ones. I want an extremely an extremely good safety rating.
Okay.
I want good gas mileage.
Okay.
And I need to be able to get Jaina in and out of it.
So
No,
that's the third.
There's four.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
I need to be able to get Jaina in and out of it easily,
All right.
and I need to like to drive it. Those are the
All
four
right.
things. Four things. So, safety rating, I won't take anything that has less than a 4-star safety rating.
Okay.
Miles per gallon, it has to do at least 25 city, 30 highway.
That's pretty high.
Getting Jaina in and out means it needs to be a 4-door.
Hmm.
I like to drive it means it needs to accelerate when I want to get on the interstate. It needs to be well balanced, and it needs to be front wheel drive so that I don't get frustrated with it driving in inclement weather.
Okay.
You people down there in the south where it snows once every 7 years can
Hey, we've
buy
got.
rear-wheeled cars all you want to. Up here, where every year we have ice and snow, a front-wheel drive car or a rear-wheel drive car, well, let's just put it this way: we had a large, major snowstorm a couple of months ago, and there's an interstate exchange that I have to take every single day that has a 40, this degree hill that you have to go up. That is the ramp. So you can only go 35 miles an hour on it because it has a 90-degree turn right before you hit this immediate hill. And then you have to go up this hill. And it's like a quarter mile of steep hill. There were, I kid you not, no less than 4 Mustangs. And a Mustang is a great car. Don't get me wrong. I have a lot of fun driving Mustangs. I have been behind the wheel.
Lucky you.
It is a lot. I have several friends that own Mustangs, and it's a lot of fun to drive a Mustang. Just a lot.
I'll take your word for it.
I've actually driven a Corvette.
Oh man, I haven't been able to drive any of those little sports cars. It's always been junkers or regular SUVs or something of that sort.
The Corvette was personally my favorite, even though the guy didn't let me. I got to drive it around the parking lot. I didn't actually get to do anything in it, but driving the Corvette was my personal favorite. I actually like riding in the Corvette better than I liked driving the Mustang because, I don't know, I have this thing for engines that roar. I'm not
Really?
big on, yeah, I'm not big on Porsches. You know, they purr, that's nice. They have some nice acceleration. I'm sure they're a lot of fun to drive. But when you sit down in something that it might not be quite as sleek and sophisticated and sporty as, you know, as some of your sports cars, but you sit in it, you turn that engine over, and it just thrums through your chest, that vibration of the engine, and you just, the bass of the engine, you know, doing its thing, just sits there and resonates with. I just have a thing for that.
So what are your feelings on
That just kind of
motorcycles
makes
then?
me pitter patter. What?
What about motorcycles then?
Actually, I have never driven a motorcycle myself. The idea of that scares me, but I've ridden on them, and it's a lot of fun.
Okay. So it seems like you would like riding on a motorcycle if you like the
I
thrum of the
actually
engine.
don't like it as much as I do riding in a car that has a muscly engine.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it a little too
I don't
visceral?
feel as safe.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I don't feel as safe. Which, I mean, that's reasonable. You aren't
Sure.
as safe on a motorcycle.
Sure. Kind of depends on the driver, but yeah, I see what you mean.
Well,
But
yeah, but I mean, you get a reckless driver in a car, and it'll do just as much damage.
true. Although it doesn't throw you everywhere if you crash in a car, usually.
Yeah, you have significantly less chance, having been strapped into the car,
Yes.
of getting road rash than you do on a
Yes.
motorcycle.
True. So, does the car that you potentially picked out have that thrum feeling?
No.
No?
No, it's a safe car for my daughter.
Okay.
Although I will say I did sit in the Smart Fit.
The Smart
Fit
Fit?
car? Yeah.
What was the Smart Fit?
Well, Smart is the make, Fit is the model.
Yes, I'm not actually sure what
Okay,
that
you know
is.
what the two-seater car that looks like the little kid's
Oh.
Tyke,
Oh,
Tyke's car?
yes, I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, I said. I
Those are the
really
ones that I
love those.
go when I see them going
I
down the road.
really love those. Honest to God, if I hadn't found out I was pregnant like a week before I went
Oh.
and bought my car, I had one of those picked out.
Look, I would be scared to drive in those cars.
Those
I
are
honestly
actually
would.
they have a 4.5 star safety rating.
It's not because of the car itself primarily. It's because of everyone else who is so much bigger than I am.
No, it's
Look,
true. But
coming.
they're freaking the cage. They have a roll cage in the car. It's actually the Fit, despite being so tiny, actually has better rear, side, and front impact rating plus rollover rating than a lot of mid-sized sedans.
True, but just for being a small car, I mean, trust me, I had a small car before, the '79 Chevette. That was a tiny car, and people would hit you just because they didn't see you. I mean, that's really all it is.
Oh yeah.
And I mean,
At
it didn't
the
do a lot
time,
of
my
damage.
work commute was 5 minutes up the street. You know, it was less than 2 miles, literally less than 2 miles. And it was only 5 minutes if you hit all the stoplights. And that thing gets like 40 some odd miles to the gallon. Do you realize how often I would have had to fuel up? Like once every 4 months.
Assuming you didn't go anywhere aside from work.
I didn't go anywhere beside from work. And I wouldn't
Oh,
have taken that car anywhere beside from work because anywhere I went, I took generally there was somebody else in the car with me. And we would take their car.
oh, I see. Just bumming off of other people. I see how it is.
The first year that I had my Caliber, guess how many miles I put on it?
I don't know.
Guess.
The first year,
The first year.
I don't know.
Guess.
400?
Okay.
Lower?
No. Other way.
600.
All right, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. Had a little bit of an issue. Had to pause for a second. Yeah. So we're back.
Mhm.
And I honestly don't remember where we were because the issue that made me have to pause completely
You were
threw my
asking me
brain.
to guess the mileage, and I just threw a random one out there. 600.
Yeah,
Couple miles
600
each
is still
thing.
wrong. You need to
Well,
you need to go up.
how far is the drive?
Less than 2 miles to get to work, and there were a few trips that were about 100 miles
Oh,
throughout
well,
that year.
you didn't tell me that there was a couple hundred just in there.
There were about once a month, once every other month, I was driving to go visit my mother or down to visit my father, and both of
Okay.
those places, the round trip is about 200 miles.
All right, so let's bump that way up. Let's go with 3,000 then.
That is actually really close. I put just under 4,000 miles on my car in the first year. For those of you of the European viewers who operate in, I can't say liters.
The European leaders. No.
Who operate in kilometers. For reference, a typical, the insurance company says that a typical person puts about 12,000, or is it 12? No, it's how many? Yeah, it's about 12,000 miles on their car a year, and I put 4.
Yeah, that's pretty low. One of those people that they sell their car back and it has absolutely no mileage on it,
Yeah,
and they tell you that it belonged to this old lady who just used to go to the grocery store.
and you're like, yeah, and this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Spend $500 to get this really, basically brand new car.
Yep. I like those cars. So you didn't drive a whole lot,
So I didn't drive a whole lot.
but now you are compared
But
to.
now I've moved, and I am going about. It's a half an hour to get to work. So
Okay.
I think it's actually about 30 or so. We'll just guesstimate and say 30 or so miles.
Yeah. Mile a minute.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit less than that because most of it is. It's all interstate driving, but most of it is interstate city driving, which the speed limit drops down to like 55.
Okay, so that's probably a pretty good approximation.
Yeah, it's probably a pretty good
So
approximation.
60 round trip.
So 60 round trip. So in the last year, like I said, I owned the car 2 years. In the last year, and it is almost exactly. Actually, I think this is March, isn't it? I think we're
Yes.
actually at my 2-year mark right now of owning this car. It has 19,000 on it. So I went from 4,000 to 19,000. So I put 15,000 miles on my car last year. Yeah.
So, has it been okay as far as the maintenance and stuff goes?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's great. The onboard computer notifies me whenever it's time to change my oil, so I don't have to keep track of my mileage.
By the way, if you don't have something like that, or even if you do, keeping a logbook with your oil changes and the dates or any
Will
replacement rate.
Yeah.
Because it's what, 3 months or every 3,000 miles or something like that?
No, that's what they will tell you, but that is actually not true. They give you that number because they want you to come back and get your business. If you are doing predominantly city driving, 5,000 miles or 4 months.
Okay.
If you are doing predominantly highway driving, it's actually more like 5,500, 6,000 miles. Because something about the not having to stop and go is actually not as hard on your oil as the city driving of stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. There's not as much contaminants on the ground that get blown up into and somehow end up in there and other stuff. And so your oil actually stays cleaner longer. If you are a little old lady who's 70 years old and you drive to church on Sunday and that's the only place you go and you put 30 miles on your car, change your oil once every 6 or 7 months. Because at that point, if your oil sits for too long, and this goes for people whose cars are stationary and you don't drive them, you want to change your car's oil about once, at the most, once like every 8 months. If you're planning on driving it. Obviously, if it's just sitting there, You want to make sure you start your car
It,
up.
yeah, that's what I was about to say. Just start it up and let
Start
it
it up
go and
run
give
for
it some
like 5
rev it
minutes.
for a
Yeah,
little bit.
let it run for like 5 minutes. Give them some revs. You know, let it spin the oil around. Let it get all its moving parts going, just so that they don't sludge up. But if your car is sitting in a shop and you're not going to get it out on the road, change its oil once you get ready to get it out on the road. But start it up like once every 6
Yep.
months. Keep
And even
everything
then,
moving.
before you do any long trips, it's always a good idea to go through the checklist as well.
Yeah.
Because nothing sucks worse than getting all the way to your destination or halfway there and it breaks down because of something you forgot.
Yep. Oh, you didn't check your
Mhm.
power steering fluid. Have fun steering manually, which is
It's not
hard.
super bad.
Oh no,
Like,
it is.
I have had manual steering before. It's not super bad.
When you're moving, once
No,
you
even when you
get moving. But
reacted is easier then, but hey, as long as you got a little bit of upper arm strength, it's not that bad.
okay, if you're female, 5 foot tall, and 108 pounds,
Granted, it's probably a little more difficult than what I'm used to.
even with the upper arm strength, because I was a farm kid,
Mm-hmm.
I tossed 150-pound hay bales around like they were nothing. Well, also not like they were nothing. I mean, they weighed more than I did, but I
It,
tossed them around with relative ease. My power steering fluid went out. I went to manual steering. It was hard.
even if you do have the upper body strength to do it, it's a good idea to get moving before you actually turn anyway.
Attempt to turn.
Yes, because it wears down your tires faster if you just turn them in place. Anyway, where were we? Oh, yes. Well, let's back up a little bit. You were going over the 4 things that it needs, and you went over safety. It needs at least a 4-star rating, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The
The
reason
next
for
thing.
that is obviously I've been in a lot of wrecks. I value a car which is going to ensure safety for me and my passengers, especially my daughter and my little brother and sister.
Mhm. Next thing was the miles per gallon, which you went over as well. It needs to be 25 city, 30 interstate, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At least.
At
Preferably
least. Yes. Of course, everyone wants to get more.
more.
The third thing is that something happened.
No.
Oh, I thought I heard you swear.
I did. I was agreeing with you.
Oh, okay, okay.
I said no shit.
Oh, I thought you said oh, and I was like, like something happened. Anyway, third thing is you have to be able to get Jana in and out very easily.
Mm-hmm. Which is easily solved by having a 4-door sedan type of vehicle, or a 4-door hatchback, or a truck with a crew cab.
Right. And the fourth one, which sounds like was the major problem with your 2012, was it must be easy and fun to drive.
Yes. Which, what you're right, it's the major thing.
Mhm.
Now, additional things that I would love to have, either an auxiliary port or some other way to hook an MP3 player up,
Oh, yes.
preferably not through one of those cassette to auxiliary port things. Those are kind of annoying. They don't work that well.
I will say that I actually don't have one of those in my car, but if you get one of those FM transmitters from Amazon for like $2, that actually works incredibly well.
Oh, I haven't tried one of those.
Yes, they're these cheap Chinese things that you can get for like $2 or $3, and they're cheap as anything. You know, if you throw them down, they'll break. But I've been using one for about 2 or 3 years, and it's fine. I mean, obviously, if you go outside of the car, it's going to stop being effective. But all I have to do when I hop in is just plug it into my 1/8 jack, and I'm ready to go. Just play it off my phone. And it cost me $2. Plugs into the cigarette lighter. Just tune into the station, and you're good.
Nice.
A lot better than the cassette tapes, because I agree, those things are a pain.
Those things are a pain. The quality of it goes down. They have a tendency to, if they heat up, if you're going on a long trip, the cassette will actually heat up and it will no longer work.
No, I haven't had that happen before.
I have.
Well,
Now, granted, the one that I have is like 6 or 7 years old, but you know, it's pretty bad.
yeah. But if you get something newer, then you're probably going to have one of those almost regardless.
Yeah, but there are a lot of new cars that don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, always check, but...
So, you know, an auxiliary port or some other method to to do that is nice. A bonus. Heated seats, a bonus. Oh, one of the things I didn't mention, it must have power windows. If it doesn't have
Really?
power windows, I won't buy it. I don't care if it's a brand new car that you're selling me for $100 with a 5-star safety rating. If it does not have power windows, I won't buy it.
I know some people who are the opposite. They really don't want power windows, and the reason they say that is because in the case that the power goes out or there's an accident or something, they want to be able to open the windows.
That's true, and I completely understand that. But like I said, I was in a car wreck when I was in preschool, and I ripped my eardrum in half because of that. And it wasn't that my mother was being unsafe. In fact, my mother was being extremely safe. Somebody ran a stop sign at like 40 miles an hour and T-boned us.
Oh.
Or would have T-boned us if my mother hadn't reacted. My mother saw they were coming, reacted, and spun to the left to help so that, okay.
It's kind of got deflected off of instead of just straight into it.
Yes, but it still hit in the front passenger
Oh no.
bumper. I was in the front seat. I was old enough and tall enough to be in the front seat. This was, of course, back when I was, 4 years old. So this was before they told you to put your kids in the back seat until they're 10. But based off of the safety regulations at the time, I was tall enough, weighed enough, and was old enough to be in the front seat, and it was considered safe. When my mom my mom turned off, they're coming this way, my mom turned this way, they hit us here, which deflected some of the impact. But the spinning of it meant that I didn't slam straight forward, which means it didn't engage the auto lock on the seatbelt. So what happened is I spun forward like this. And when I did that, when I spun forward and down, my ear, as I was going down and forward, hit the window crank, caught my ear, and ripped it off.
It was one. I'm guessing it was one of those ones that just stuck out, had a big knob on it.
Yes. Like most window cranks do. Now, a lot of newer cars that have the manual window cranks actually have them lower to the floor and further forward. So, probably specifically so that stuff like that doesn't happen.
Probably.
But it doesn't change the fact that I won't buy that kind of car because I don't want something like that to happen to my daughter.
Right. No, I completely understand. That is definitely a concern. I have seen some that they actually, it's kind of odd. You can crank them, but then you push them back into the door.
That's odd. I've never seen one that does that.
I've only seen it once, and I really forget what type of car it was. That seemed pretty cool. That was a pain to get out. But yeah, I completely understand those things. On a lot of them, they stick way out, and even when you're not doing anything intense, you can hit yourself on those. So in an accident, I can really see how that would be detrimental. So
Yeah, and in my mind, like I said, due to what I've been through, that is just it. Everyone has those things that if you're buying a house, it has this particular feature, and nope, I won't buy it. I refuse to even look at it. I actually got into the car, one of the cars at the lot, and I really liked the car. I was looking at a model that was, I'd gotten in a different car previously, and it was the exact same color. It was the exact same car. It had fewer miles. It was the exact same price. Had all the bells and whistles of the other one, except for the fact that everything in it was manual. It still had the really nice stereo system. It still had the upgraded display system. It still had the heated seats. It still had the special racing style seats that you kind of sink into. Had everything that the other car had except for the fact that everything was manual. I sat down in that car to go for a test drive in it. I looked down, saw that it had a window crank, and said, I'm not even going to test drive. I already had the car running. I'd already readjusted the seat. Looked down, saw the window crank, and said, we're not going anywhere in this car.
He's like, oh, okay.
And so we went and test drove the other car.
Okay, the one you finally ended up getting?
No.
No?
A different one.
I'm trying to segue into where you actually tell me which kind of car you got.
Is the suspense killing you?
Yes, it is.
Well, too bad. I'm not going to tell you about it yet.
Okay.
First, I'm going to tell you about the sweet little red Honda, or not Honda, Chevy Sonic that I drove,
Okay.
which is the one that, well, the one that I test drove obviously didn't have everything manual. But it had
Right.
like 40,000 miles on it, got decent gas mileage. I think it was like 25 city, 32. It was either 30 or 32 highway. So
Okay.
it was right on my thing. Had 5 stars in everything, but rear impact and rollover, which those are the two things that most cars only have 4 stars in. You know, when they have everything else, you're very rare. In fact, I've never seen a car that I've researched that I could afford that had 5 star safety rating across the board. So you know, it had a 4.5 star overall safety rating, very very good. It had 5 stars and everything, like I said, except for rear impact and rollover. Good gas mileage, had 40,000 miles on it, in my price range. Only had one owner, never been in a car wreck. Everything checked off the list.
Okay.
Got in it. The seat aligned the way that I needed it to. It's a 4-door sedan. You know, I was able to get the seat. When I say the seat aligned the way I liked it to, I'm 5 foot tall, and I'm completely evenly proportioned. So I don't have exproportionately long legs or you know anything, but I'm 5 foot tall. They don't build cars for people that are 5 foot tall. If they built cars for people that are 5 foot tall, people like Snark wouldn't be able to fit in them.
This is true. I actually have leg problems in some of the older cars until they kind of fixed it in the more recent ones.
Yeah, yeah, they didn't make cars for people who were on one end or the other when they first started making cars. You had to deal with it. In fact,
Exactly.
remind me to tell you the story, or remind me to talk about me learning how to drive stick shift.
Everybody has a stick shift story, but I'd love to hear yours.
Oh, mine is a little bit more unique than most people's, and has led to the fact that I have not successfully driven a stick shift on the road. Not because I don't know how to, not because I don't understand the concept, but because I have yet to find a vehicle that I have been able to successfully, due to seat navigation issues, successfully actually perform it in a smooth, safe driving manner. But I'll tell you about that in a minute.
Okay. Okay.
So, you know, talking about seat alignment, I need to be able to get close enough to the steering wheel that I can, or close enough, you know, to the steering column and everything, that I can reach the pedals with the steering column set in such a way that I can read my display without being so close to the steering wheel that should I get in a car wreck and the airbag deploys, you know, it shoots that plastic piece off first, that I don't, A, break my nose, or B, cause severe internal injuries or a broken sternum due to the impact of that airbag. Because it is possible for an airbag to cause serious, major, sometimes even fatal injuries to you. Now, that doesn't mean I want you to go turn your airbag off. If you are sitting too close to that airbag, which I believe the recommended distance is 16 inches, it might be a foot. I don't actually know. It's somewhere between 12 inches and 18 inches. I only know about it because I'm short. Most people don't know about it because they don't even have to think about it.
Regardless, if you're riding the steering wheel, that's too
Regardless,
close.
if you're driving with the steering wheel right, there we go. If you're driving like this,
I can't see it, so
yes, basically. It's going to cause you, not only is it going to hinder your ability to drive, it's going to cause you severe injury should you get in a car wreck. You need to be about like this, or further away. You don't want to be too far away. You don't want to be driving with your arms stuck out where you're having to reach for it constantly, because that's also going to hurt your driving.
Right.
And all of you,
it's also just uncomfortable.
Boys and teenage girls out there who are just getting your license, this is not how you drive a car. Neither is this.
I can't see what you're doing.
This is how you drive a car.
Are you doing
Both
the?
hands on the wheel.
Oh wow.
At the proper intervals.
Now that's interesting because I was actually taught two different positions to drive.
Well, there are a couple of different positions, but generally I consider somewhere in between around 10 and 2.
10 and 2 is normally the
Accepted.
one. I've also taught when you're in intense situations, you go to 3 and 9.
I see. I can't do 3 and 9 unless the only time I do 3 and 9 is if I am making a severe turn, because you start at
Yes.
3 and then you wrap around, and then you grab you start at 3, wrap to 9, grab with your other hand, go back to 3, wrap to 9.
Yeah, they call it 3 and 9 pursuit driving, I believe.
I don't know. It's uncomfortable for me to drive like that.
No, yeah, it's not for an extended period of time, but I was told to do that if you were ever in intense situations, aka you got to make turns fast.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and sharp turns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the second rule, they told me to look where you're going, not over the hood.
Yeah, you don't want to be trying to see what's a foot in front of your bumper. You want to see what's about, 10 feet in front of your bumper. But not talking about critiquing people's driving.
Right. Anyway, sorry.
It's okay. We could probably do an entire tea time on the proper way to drive safely.
Oh yes.
But we're not going to, because I'm not opening that.
That can of worms. You're right. All right. I actually kind of forgot where we were. Oh yes.
Oh, we're
The
talking
seats
about
were aligned correctly.
Yes. So I get in this car, and I get it all lined up, and I adjust my mirrors, adjust my side mirrors. Always adjust your mirrors. They're there for a reason. You should use them. So, I adjust everything, and I get in, and I get my seat, and I reach, and I buckle, and I go through, and I'm going down. And, the first thing I notice is, well, the windshield has spots all over it. So I'm like, okay. And I'm sitting at a stop sign, and I'm like, okay, this is the one that has the windshield wipers on it. So in most American cars, you pull back whichever lever it is that has the windshield wiper thing on it, or push forward, one way or the other, and that causes your windshield wiper fluid to squirt out so that you can clean your windshield.
Right.
And it doesn't pull forward, and it doesn't push forward. So I turn the dial, because some cars are like this. Instead of pulling or pushing, you turn the dial all the way forward, and then it has an additional one that you just kind of pop forward. That once you've got it dialed all the way forward, that triggers the jets. Well, that didn't do anything, so I turn it off, and then I'm sitting there, looking, trying to figure out how to do this. And some have a button on the end, so I'm like, okay, and I'm pushing on the end, and there's no button. And I'm looking, is there another dial on there? No, there's no dial. I finally triggered it by accident, and I'm not entirely certain what it is that I did. And then I couldn't turn the windshield wipers off.
So it's good when you get into a car and you just can't turn anything on or off.
I couldn't figure out how this thing. I'm like, and the owner's manual. They keep the owner's manual outside of the car so that nobody steals them.
Mm-hmm.
They keep it with the spare key inside the office. So I couldn't open the owner's manual as I'm sitting here with this. And the salesperson didn't know. I mean, they were a large car. It was actually CarMax that I went to, so it was a large, car lot. They had a lot of cars. I wouldn't expect him to know every little detail about every single car. So I don't hold this against him, but he couldn't figure it out either. We're both sitting there at the stop sign. I even threw the caution lights, and we're sitting at the stop sign for like 5 minutes trying to figure out A, how to get the windshield jets to go, and then B, how to get the darned windshield wipers to stop.
Do you think that's bad design that you couldn't figure it out by yourself, or two people couldn't figure it out?
I'm sure there is some simple solution that if I was capable of reading the owner's manual, it would have been easy.
I don't know. I'm kind of the mind that if you can't find out something like that without reading the owner's manual, then it's probably not designed that incredibly
Here's
well.
the reason that I don't necessarily agree with that. This was an American-made car, so I guess you can kind of throw the argument on it. But the difference in how American-made cars, their buttons and dials work, versus Japanese-made cars or Oriental-made cars versus European-made cars are all three radically different.
Okay, sure. But I don't know. I'm still kind of of the opinion that no matter where you're from, you should be able to represent the stuff in a way that would be easy for someone who's sitting down there to understand because, well, it could
I
be
agree and I
critical.
disagree. I really do. I agree and I disagree. There are some basic things that you need to be able to figure out fairly instantaneously.
Hmm.
How to shift, how to put it into gear. One of the big things that this is another thing, how to turn your lights on, how to
Yes.
turn your windshield wipers on, how to turn the radio on, how to adjust the climate control. Those things I think are all things. Little things like how to trigger the windshield wiper thing and other little small nuanced things, those don't really bother me so much. Yeah, you do it slightly different as long as you explain in the owner's manual in such a way that I can clearly understand how to. And then once I know it, I can do it, then, I'm totally cool with that. For example, my Caliber it's a hatchback, so it has a rear windshield wiper.
Hmm.
To trigger the rear windshield, to trigger the windshield wipers, you pull down on the lever, and it has like 3 different spikes: the high, medium, low, whatever.
Hmm.
To do the rear windshield wiper, it has a dial on that same stick, and you rotate it forward or rotate it back. To trigger the front jet spray, you pull forward on that lever, and it triggers that spray. To trigger the rear ones, you turn the dial of the rear windshield wiper all the way forward and click it further forward. And that will automatically click back, but you can click it forward and hold it, and it will release a continuous spray, and that's how you do the rear windshield.
Okay.
I had to read the owner's manual to figure out how to do that because I had never owned a car that had a dial that did that. Now, I don't know if that's common throughout hatchbacks. This was my first hatchback that I ever owned, so this is the first time I've had to deal with a rear windshield wiper like that. But the simple fact of the matter is that is something that is simple, probably commonplace, but I never encountered it before, and so I had to read the owner's manual. But it's easy. It's simple. Once I read the owner's manual, I could do it without thinking.
Right.
So I
And
don't
that's
necessarily think it's a bad thing for you to have to consult the owner's manual to figure something out. For something small like this, I'll agree with you. If this was a big issue like how to activate the windshield wipers at all, yeah, that's kind of a big thing. You need to be able to do that on a moment's notice without thinking. The other thing that I think is a big one, you need to be able to know how to turn your lights on.
Hmm. Oh,
It
yes.
took me, we sat at the stoplight for I had a light thing that was popping up on my dashboard that I thought meant my brights were on for some reason. You don't drive around at night in city traffic, much less during the day, with
Your
your
brights
brights
on.
on. So I'm sitting there and I'm trying to figure this out, and so I'm fiddling with it, and I thought that because this one is the one that controls the windshield wipers, it's a side shift stick. So I figured, this handle on the left-hand side, which it did have one, surely that was what controlled the lights.
Hmm.
No.
But it didn't.
No. And I did not, throughout the duration of the time that I was test driving this car, I could not figure out how to turn the brights on. I did discover that the little light indicator on my dashboard meant that my daytime running lights were on,
Hmm.
which is
Okay.
totally cool with me. It looked very similar to the brights light, but on closer inspection of the dashboard, I could clearly see that there was another icon immediately above it that was shaped slightly different that was the lights. However, I
Yeah,
couldn't figure
see.
out how to turn the brights on. I tried a lot. I tested every button, turned every dial while we were sitting at the stop sign. Still. We sat at that stop sign for probably about 5 minutes, all in total.
Yeah.
The cars
I
behind
don't
us
know.
gave up and went around.
Yeah, I don't know. I seriously, even for small things like that, I'm a really big advocate of basically intuitive design where you can figure it out without having to go through the manual. Now, that may just,
I
obviously, it
agree.
doesn't apply to everything,
I agree,
but even for something small like turning on the water for the windshield wipers in the back, let me give you a different example. I went to my Explorer, which has a back, and it has rear windshield wipers and a way to turn on the spray for them, right?
okay.
I never had to read the owner's manual to figure that out because it was clearly labeled on a dashboard. Hey, here is a button with a symbol of a bunch of water spraying over the back windshield.
Oh,
Press
this
it.
side stick had a symbol on it that indicated that something about this stick would activate those.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, fiddling with it, I somehow managed to turn it on, but I couldn't figure out how I did it.
Right. Well, these were buttons. And then aside from it, it had a dial that showed a picture of the back windshield wipers moving. And it had a crank that went from low to high. That was simple to do. I didn't even need to consult the manual.
I'll agree with you on some, on the idea of practicality. I will 100% agree with you. For me, that is not something that is a no-go.
That's fine. That's fine. I just know if I was designing it, I probably would not be satisfied with something that would require people to open the operator's manual to use. That's just
Okay.
my opinion. So,
Totally understand. And I even agree with you to a point. So moving forward,
anyway, yeah.
this car was a sport car. It was a sport car four-door sedan. It was a very smooth acceleration, but it accelerated extremely easily and very quickly. It was a lot of fun. It really was a lot of fun. I took it on some back roads that were windy and hilly, and even at 55 miles an hour when that area is rated for a 35 speed zone, and it handled them miraculously. And oh my God, is that some fun crap to do. I grew up in an area that's foothills on the Appalachian Mountains. So it's not quite in the mountains, but it's in the foothills. And you are up, you are down, you are twisting as you're doing it, and all sorts.
Roller coaster
you're
ride.
basically a roller coaster on four wheels without a track.
Yes, I love those places.
And oh my God, this car, I could have spent all day driving down by my parents' house. It was so fun. But it had manually adjusting seats, which that doesn't bother me. But it didn't adjust up and down. It only adjusted forward and back, and the backrest goes up and down. But that was normally I can't drive those cars because I sit too low and the steering column ends up like right here and it would go right in the nose. I don't
Right.
want to be face palmed by the cover over my airbag in a car wreck.
Deadly facepalm, got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd rather keep my nose the way it is. No offense to the people that make those cars. I'd really rather keep my nose the way it is.
Right.
So, but this car had a telescope. It didn't just have a steering wheel that went like this. It actually had a telescoping steering wheel. So it went like you could push it in, pull it out, and even in those positions of pushed in and pulled out, you could lift up and down. It had a lot of movement in the steering
Interesting.
column. In fact, that was the first car that I had been in that had a telescoping steering wheel that was that maneuverable with where you could put it.
Yeah, I've never actually been in a car, at least that I know of, that has actually had something like that. So it's just up or down.
Yeah, and most cars
Which I mean,
are. That's not
which I
something
mean, of
that
course,
you
it's
see
fine for
very
me.
often, except in the sportier cars. But yeah, that was a really neat feature. I actually really liked that. But because it didn't lift up, I felt like I was sitting really low down in the car because I was sitting really low down in the car. And even though I could see over the steering wheel, to see the road, and even though I could see my dials, and even though that steering column went to a safe position, I didn't feel comfortable in the car. It was a lot of fun to drive, and I'm sure after a while I probably would have gotten used to it. I didn't feel comfortable in the car.
Hello. She got tired of sitting in my lap, I think.
So, and I knew that within about, after we made it past that stop sign that stalled us for 5 minutes, before I had even made it on the interstate, I knew this probably wasn't the car for me. And I was like, you know what? We're already in the on-ramp to get on the interstate. We have to turn around anyways. It's going to be a short run, but let's just go ahead and deal it and go. And I was actually, my friend, my ex-coworker from when I worked at the hotel way back, AJ, who was one of our part-timers, was actually the sales rep. He
Was
was
that the
actually
first
my
time you had
sales
met
rep.
him in a while?
Yeah, it's the first time I've seen him since I left since I left the hotel. Um, and it was so funny because I was like walking back to, I had just registered, and the guy at the counter was getting ready to go find me a sales rep, and I was walking back to go to the bathroom while I waited, and I was talking to another lady that was going, because they had the bathroom hidden like way back in the back, like you had to go through this hallway of cubicles and offices way back in the back of the building to get to the bathroom. And so, and this lady and I were talking about it, how they had hidden the bathroom and how we had both, kind of expected the bathroom to be somewhere a little bit further forward where people would see it easily.
And thus a fellowship was formed.
And thus a fellowship. But, well, as I was talking, I was walking back, and all of a sudden I hear from behind me a voice that goes, "Sam?" And I turned around, and it was my buddy AJ from the hotel. And I'm like, "AJ, hi!" And he's like, "Hi!" And I'm like, "So you quit the hotel?" And he's like, "Yeah, I work here now." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm looking at cars today. Go tell the guy up front I want you to be my rep." So we're sitting there, and I told him right away, as I was like, "AJ, this isn't the car for me." And he's like, "All right, are you sure?" He's like, "Do you want to keep going? You want to turn around and go back?" I said, "Well, we got to turn around and go back anyways. I'm already in the lane to get on the ramp. It's going to be a pain in the butt to try to turn around anywhere else. Let's just hop on the interstate and take the road back." And he's like, "Okay." He's like, "Okay." So I accelerate, and I was talking, and it, about the time I hit that windy road, and I started going, and I was going 55, and I hit that first turn, I looked at him and I said, "I might have to reevaluate this car. I might have to reevaluate this car." And he goes, "Yeah, it's pretty spunky on the roads." And I was like, "Yeah, this is nice. This is really nice." That same road I have driven on with my Caliber, I had to take it at 35. I was not capable of hitting it faster, but with this car, I was going 20 miles an hour faster than what I could in my Caliber, and it was just eating the road up.
So it's unfortunate that it had those particular problems. Otherwise, you probably would have gotten with that, right?
I definitely would have gotten that. It was a lot of fun to drive. So we got back to the lot, and I thought about it, and I'm like, I liked it. It was fun to drive once I got on those those windy roads, and I was like, it's got the gas mileage requirements, it's got the mileage requirements, it's got the safety rating requirements, it's at the price requirements. It's a 4-door, so it takes care of the Jaina requirements. The trunk's large and spacey. I said, "But I want to look at some other stuff." And he's like, "Okay." So we had lined up like 4 different cars that all met the major requirements. And so we go to the next one, and I opened the door, and I turned and I looked at it and I said, "AJ, this is a smoker's car."
You could tell?
Before I even got in it, I just opened the door. Now,
Wow.
the fumes weren't that bad. They honestly weren't, but I am very, very sensitive to smoking smell. And I know exactly how much of a pain it is to get the smoke smell out of a vehicle to the point that it no longer bothers my nose. I'm capable of it, and it's actually gotten a lot easier because there's been a new chemical that came out that my company actually uses and sells that is wonderfully effective with one treatment. And my boss would probably have let me, he wouldn't have given it to me complimentary, obviously, but he probably would have let me do this treatment, which is normally about $200 to de-odor your car for probably about 150, So
Okay. So on the board, at least.
yeah, it was still on the board, because AJ's first response was, based off of my facial expression and my tone, AJ's first response was, "Does that make this a no-go?" And I said, "No, it's not going to make it a no-go. It's not that bad, and I've got something that'll get rid of the odor, but it certainly knocks it down on the list." He goes, "Okay." So I get in, I test, I look at it, I adjust the seat goes up. I'm like, "All right, let's go look at the others before we get going, before we test drive this one out," because I'm really hesitant on buying a car that's a smoker's car. I'd rather not. So this automatically went to the bottom of the list, even though I haven't looked at these others. So we go, and the next one that we looked at was a Kia Forte. I don't even remember what the smoker's car was.
Obviously, you didn't go back to it.
Yeah, I didn't go back to it. So the next one that we went to was a Kia Forte.
Okay.
which was white. Lower miles on it than was on the Chevy Sonic,
Hmm.
and a slightly but not a whole lot lower price tag. So it was cheaper, but that also meant it didn't have all the bells and whistles in it that the Sonic had. So I got in, and I adjust the seat, and it does all the stuff it's supposed to, and it's good. And I'm like, okay, well, before we go test drive, let's go ahead. There's one more car on our list. It was actually sitting right next to the one that we were in. Let's check it out. Let's go
Okay.
ahead. Let's get in it and make sure. That way, if I can't get in it and get safe, we can just knock it off the list. So we
Okay.
go, we climb in, and the last one that we looked at was a navy blue Hyundai something.
Something. Okay.
A Hyundai something. I can't remember.
Okay.
I'm not good with car names, guys.
I don't blame you. I'm not either.
2010, had less than 20,000 miles on it. It was actually the cheapest of the 4 cars. Best safety rating, too. And best miles per gallon.
Okay. So this was already pretty high on the list, I imagine.
Yeah, this was a pretty good. This is a pretty good car. So we climb in, and the first thing that I noticed, because I'm looking at the center console. First thing I noticed, it has an auxiliary port down there, and next to it is a USB outlet.
Aha.
It has a USB adapter to where it would directly import. And then I'm looking at the steering wheel, and it's got a button right there that has a call button on it and an end call button on it.
You got one of those ones that has the neat little interface that allows you to call through the car's speakers.
And I'm looking at that, and I'm like, is that what I think it is? And I look over here, up by the radio, where it has, the whether or not it's satellite capable or has OnStar and all of that stuff, and I see a Bluetooth symbol.
Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing you have a Bluetooth set.
Well, no.
You don't?
Bluetooth symbol on it means it's capable of connecting with a Bluetooth.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's what I mean. Your
device.
phone is Bluetooth.
Whose phone isn't Bluetooth capable these days?
Who is it? I think my sister's. Yeah, my sister's is not.
Does she have? Is this a smartphone?
No, it's an older one.
Okay, well there you go. Anybody who's bought a phone in the last at least 2 years.
True. They will have the capability to
Even
connect.
if you don't know it, trust me, it's Bluetooth capable.
Yes.
And I look at him, and of course they don't have the manual there, so we can't verify this. But we're both about 90% certain that this car is a phone, and we're both excited about that because that's cool.
It is. My mother has one that has that feature in, and it is invaluable when you're driving. Did it have the little things on the steering wheel that let you answer and reject calls while you're driving? Mm-hmm.
Yes, it does. That's what the phone pickup button and the phone hang up button are, because those operate the same way.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, this is really nice. So I get in and I adjust the seat forward, and this one is the only one of the 4 that has a manual adjustment that will lift it up and down. No, I take that back. The SmartGo's car did too. But it's one of 2 of the 4 that has a manual adjustment that lets it go up and down, not just forward and backwards. It has the best stereo system in all of them, and it has that USB capability. And I looked at him and I said, I want to test drive this one. I think it's a Sonata, Hyundai Sonata.
Let me see.
That sounds right.
I'll look it up so I can kind of get a mental image of this.
I don't know.
You said it's a 2010?
Yeah, navy blue 4-door.
Okay.
Not the hatchback version. So I'm like, okay, I want to test drive this. We're already sitting in it. We've already got the keys out. Let's just go ahead and test drive it. He's like, okay. So we get in, and we get going, and I get up to the interstate, and you're cruising along, getting to the interstate, and I wait for the cars that are on the on-ramp before me to get going ahead of me, where I have a good amount of space between me and them. Probably 15 car lengths, and I smashed my foot to the floor. Before I made it to the end of the on-ramp, I was going 75.
So it took off like you expected?
It took off very well. Not as fun as the Sonic. The Sonic had a lot more oomph feeling to it when it was accelerating. You felt the muscle of the engine pulling that car forward, just like you could feel it hugging the road. And about this point, I looked down and I noticed this green little light on my dashboard that says Eco.
Eco? Okay.
I don't know what that means. Apparently, it has an eco mode that helps you with your gas mileage.
Oh, okay.
It was on automatically, so I don't know if it was something that it's just, it's on, and then when you're doing certain things, it, automatically goes off, or what. Didn't read the owner's manual, don't know. Eco. Cool. Did you just mute yourself?
I did because I was typing.
Oh, okay. It freaks me out every time you do that because I stop hearing your fan.
Oh. That's my computer fan.
Yeah. It's totally fine. It's just all of a sudden there's an absence of noise. You ever talking with somebody on the phone and then all of a sudden there's an absence of noise and you're like,
You still there?
are you there?
Yes.
Yeah. You're giving me that response, only I know you're still there because I can still see your picture.
And don't worry, if I'm muting it, I'm probably doing a little bit of typing.
That's fine.
Because otherwise it sounds like...
Yeah, you're self-conscious about it. Well, I mean, I can't blame you. Ever since you got that, every time we would get on to D&D, everybody would tease you about the fact that you were typing.
I am not embarrassed. It is a mechanical keyboard. It is great. I make no apologies.
My teeth felt funny. That's what
I'm
I was
sorry?
doing. I was wiping my teeth off on my shirt because they felt funny.
Oh. All right.
I'm weird. So we get out and it's like, okay. So we get going, and I actually was having so much fun driving the car that I forgot to get off on the exit that I meant to get off on.
Good sign.
Yeah. So then we went and we had to navigate rush hour traffic because by this time it's like 6 o'clock. I had to navigate rush hour traffic and ended up taking the back roads back. Now, unfortunately, the back roads were just city streets. Straight roads, stop sign, turn left. Straight road, stop sign, turn right.
So nothing too exciting.
Huh?
Nothing too exciting.
Nothing too exciting. It wasn't like the fun curvy road that I had been initially planning on taking.
Right. Oh well.
But we got back and I looked at him and I said, AJ, I don't think I want to test drive anything else.
This is the one. I can feel it.
Everything about this car not only meets my requirements, it exceeds them. It is the same price as Blah car, and it's like $1,000 cheaper than this car. And it's not a smoker's car. It was $1,000 cheaper. The price tag on it was than the Scion. I said I feel it is not necessarily as much fun, or rather I should say I don't know if it's as much fun to drive because I didn't take it on the same road as the other one. I said, but it is, at least interstate wise, it is as much fun to drive as the Sonic was, and I feel comfortable in this car.
Good.
So I am getting that Hyundai whatever it is.
Sonata.
I think it's a Sonata.
Maybe.
I don't actually know. I forgot. I guess
we'll
I
call it the Hyundai something.
My cell phone and text AJ and be like, hey, that car that I was going, what make was that?
So what car am I getting? I don't know.
I remembered when I called all the people to tell them. If I had told you when I talked to you earlier, I could have told you what it was then, too. But I've forgotten. So we get back, and I've pretty much decided this is the car I want. All right, now, what happens when you go shopping at CarMax, if you're turning in your vehicle, is they do an appraisal, and they give you a quote. This is how much money we are willing to give you for your car. Now, I bought the car new 2 years ago, and I'm not rich, so I had to get a loan. The car still has a loan on it. It still has a lien on it. And I knew I needed to get enough out of the car that I could pay off the loan, and I wanted to get enough out of the car that I could pay off the loan and have some extra to use toward the new car. I didn't want to have this brand new car that I put $8,000 into plus or however much I've paid over the last 2 years, and then break even and not have a car anymore.
Right.
I wanted to be able to get something out of it. If I wasn't going to be able to get anything out of it, I might as well keep driving the darn thing until I pay it off and then sell it.
Yep.
And I'd get money out of it.
But-
So I did some research on the internet. Based off of the condition and the miles on my car, fair market value said if I sold it to an individual, I was probably looking to get about $11,000 out of that. Trade-in value, they said I was looking to get about $1,000 less, get $10,000 trade-in value on it. And I'm thinking, okay, that's a fairly good estimate. You know, I owe about $7,500 on my loan. You know, it's going to give me, you know, a couple $1,000s to put on it.
Right.
You know, $2,500 to put toward this new car. I am okay with that. I am okay with having that amount of value pulled out of that car and putting it toward a new car. I am cool with this. So we get back, and of course they'd been doing all of this stuff with my car and checking my financing and stuff with it while we were off doing the test driving and figuring stuff out, because CarMax is awesome like that. Honest to gosh, guys, I won't try to sell you something. I won't recommend something to you that I didn't appreciate the service, the quality of the service, and the the staff. I'm failing to find the word that I'm wanting.
It was an overall good experience, though.
Yes, I won't tell you that something is good unless it is good. And if it's bad, I'll probably tell you it's bad. At least in my personal experience with the rep that I was working with, CarMax is an awesome and very easy way to go when you're buying a car. Nothing against my local Dodge dealership, but I came out of buying that car not just because I didn't like driving it. I came out of that the day I left and got home and sat down and was looking at my paperwork and had the distinct feeling that I had just got ripped off.
How so?
Not because I bought a new car, not because I didn't like the car, but because it felt to me like what they told me wasn't what I got.
Really?
And the longer I went through it, the more I felt that way. When I went in, I was told, you know, the car was going to cost just under $14,000 brand new.
Okay.
Okay. So I get in. They don't have an automatic on lot. That is that just under $14,000 was for a manual baseline. Okay.
Okay.
I've already mentioned I have yet to successfully drive a manual car, so I wasn't going to buy a brand new manual when I was fairly certain that in order to teach myself how to drive a manual, I'm probably going to kill the clutch a couple of times.
Probably so. That's
don't do that.
You always practice your manuals on old
buy a $200
cars.
beater and teach yourself how to drive manual, so
Yep.
that you didn't lose that much money when you wrap it around a tree because you failed to shift properly.
Or you ruin a friend's car instead.
Or you ruin a friend's... Well, no, you don't do that either. And you don't ruin your parents' car either, unless your parent offers. If your parent offers and they have a little beater they want to give you to teach yourself how to drive manual, okay, fine. But you don't steal your mother's brand new Mini Cooper to teach yourself how to drive manual. You just no. Bad idea. Buy yourself a 10-year-old, 15-year-old car with 100,000 miles on it that's only worth about, $100, $200, and destroy that clutch. Go at it. Chances are you're not going to destroy the car. And then you put another $150 in it, and you put a new clutch in it. And then you try again. And you do that a couple of times, and then you've got about $600 in your car. And
well,
now
hopefully
you can drive stick.
Hopefully you haven't gone through 3 clutches.
Hopefully you haven't. If you're a slow learner, okay.
Oh.
So anyway, I refused to get the manual, which was the baseline $14,000. Well, let me tell you, the difference in price on a brand new Dodge Caliber in 2012 between a manual baseline and an automatic baseline is an additional $2,000.
So
the
already
price
they
went
told
from
you
$13,000. Oh no, it's an additional $1,000. Excuse me. So the price went from $14,999,999,999,999. Well, not that many nines, but just under
Get the idea.
14,000 to just under 15,000 automatically right off the bat. Then they didn't have a automatic baseline model on the lot. The model that they had, they offered me, and I said, okay, well, how much is this going to run? And they said, well, your payment is probably going to be looking at being around $175.
Okay.
And because I was buying it brand new, it meant that I should have qualified for the special financing for 6 months, 0 interest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm cool with that. Let's take a look and see what the price is going to look like on it. Let's go test drive it. So we took this automatic out, we test drove it, and whatever. I came back, I felt comfortable with the car. I felt good about the guy I was talking to. And so we get back and we go in and we start processing the financing. And all of this happens, the entire process of going through processing the finance. When he sat me down and he started showing me numbers on paper, he wasn't giving me the sticker price. What he did was he took the sticker price, he took what I had told him I was going to apply toward it on a down payment, and I was applying $6,000 on a down payment. That is a hefty chunk
that is
on
a significant amount.
car. That is a
Yes.
lot more. Most people bring in $1,500 to $2,000.
I mean, the heck, they'd be happy to do business with someone who put down $6K.
I was putting down $6K because I had been saving up to buy this car.
Mm-hmm.
I literally, I'd been saving up. I hadn't had a car. I'd had temporary cars, but not cars that I had bought myself.
Right.
I haven't had a car loan in 4 years. So I had been saving up for 4 years for this car. So I had $6,000. I had a big chunk of money to put down in. So what he was doing is he took the car that he was selling me, he took my $6,000 off of it, and then he broke it down into what the financing on the 6-year plan would be, and that number, what my monthly payment was the number that he gave me.
Okay.
I bought when I went in there, I thought I was going to be looking at a just under $14,000 car, $13,999.
Mm-hmm.
When I left there, what I had, and I didn't find this out until after I had driven the car home and was reading through my paperwork, I had bought a just under $18,000, not 18,000, that's wrong, $17,000 car, $16,999.
That's awfully deceptive.
And I didn't discover this until a year into, or 9 months into owning the car. They didn't give me that promotional 0%, 6 month 0% interest that they told me they would.
Why?
Well, because it went through a different lender. Now, it was very clearly marked on the contract, but when you're going through those contracts, those salespeople are rushing you. They don't let you read it unless you. And I wasn't smart enough to know that to sit there and actually read everything every box that I was signing. There was a box at the very bottom. There was a little tiny box in the middle of one of those pages where you have to initial 17 different times. It was an initial. It was an initial on one of the financing pages that said, this is your interest rate. And nowhere in that box did it talk about a 6 month zero interest
So
rate.
because it didn't talk about it, you didn't get it.
APR. Because it didn't say anything on there, I didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it went through a different lender. And that lender wasn't offering it. And no one told me that. And I was livid.
I bet. Did you go back to them?
No, I didn't. I consulted a lawyer and was told I signed the contract. It is my responsibility to go through and read all of that fine print. If I didn't go through and read all of that fine print, then it is my fault. They are not obligated to tell me that this is through a different lender and it doesn't have it on there. And that is stupid.
I thought there was something about even if you sign it, if they misrepresent what it's supposedly in there.
They didn't misrepresent. They told me that 0% financing was available on the car.
Mm-hmm.
When they ran my finances, they came back and they told me, this is what your interest rate will be. They didn't talk about the 0% interest rate. This is what your interest rate will be. This is what your payment is with that interest rate.
Yes, but
But they
at
didn't
least
mention
to me,
again that there was
it,
no thing.
yeah, at least to me, it sounds like they led you to believe that there would be that 6 month no interest, and then when it turned out that there wasn't, they didn't say anything.
But that's very hard. Well, yes, yes. In simple layman
I mean,
terms, in
I
normal
know
people
that's.
terms, that is what happened.
I mean, I know that's a very weak
That
argument if you
is
really had to do
not.
anything.
That doesn't cut it
But
in legalese.
I know.
That
But
doesn't cut it in legalese.
I guess the lesson here is to make sure you 100% read the contracts, even if they are just trying to
100%
rush you
read
through
the
it.
contracts, even if you feel nervous.
Hmm.
Double check. Even if you think that they aren't lying to you, even if you think that they aren't trying to mislead you, even if everything goes through, ask them.
Hmm.
How long does my 0% last? How long does my promotional APR last? Where is it on this contract that I have that on there? You know how I discovered I didn't have it? I got my
How?
first bill,
And it did
and
have
it
it had
showed
interest on it.
interest charge.
Hmm.
Actually, it wasn't my first one, it was my second one.
Yeah, that's contracts are difficult.
So, that's going on. Now, the thing that happened with CarMax that was the exact opposite of that situation, and you know what? I'm not going to hold that against that sales rep. He probably didn't even remember the 3-second blurb of him saying, hey, right now we have this promotional thing going on with our financing where, we're offering 0% for the first 6 months when you buy a brand new car. Probably didn't even remember that 3 seconds.
Maybe.
He goes and sees, 6, 7 on a slow day, people a day, and starts talking to them about cars. I'm not going to hold that against him. I'm sure that he is an honest guy. I've talked to him several times since then. No, I've never confronted him about it. No, I don't intend to. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not going to sit here and hold a grudge against somebody because of something that was probably just an honest miscalculation on their part. And you know what? He's not the guy that I sat down and signed all the contract work with. It was somebody else higher up above him. So, you know what? I'm not going to hold it against this guy. I'm not going to hold it against dealerships. I'm not going to hold it against the guy's boss who was going through the paperwork with me. Honestly, it is nobody's fault but my own that I was capable of being either maliciously misled or just not catching it. It's simply and solely my fault, and I will accept that 100%. I'm not going to hold it against him, regardless of any personal feelings on the matter. But what I loved about my experience with CarMax today, I went in there and, I was doing it with a friend. But I went in there, I walked up to a desk, and I said, hi, how are you doing? And the gentleman at that front desk, that receptionist, looked at me and said, I'm doing amazing. How are you doing, and what can I do for you? And I go, well, I'm unhappy with my car. He goes, did you buy your car from us? I said, no. Okay, what kind of car do you have? 2012 Dodge Caliber. Okay. Did you buy it new? Yeah, I bought it new. Okay. Well, let me get your name and your phone number in here. Put this stuff in, and let me get a sales rep over here for you. And while you're waiting for a sales rep, go sit over here at this computer terminal and look through our inventory for a little while. Let's get an idea of what you're looking for, and I'll be right back with you.
Seems pretty simple.
Great customer service, very friendly and open from the very beginning.
Good.
Hey, Magus. Come here. I had a texture issue. There's half a roll and 2 unagi eel slices. I ate the rice out of them.
She spit up all of them.
And there's extra
Don't eat
eel
them.
sauce. Heat the eel sauce up before you eat it. It started to congeal. What? Oh, you're going to bed? Did you beat him? Awesome.
He did. I saw him. It's legit confirmed.
I told you you needed to step away from it and just calm down and eat. Before you go to bed, I'm assuming you're heading over to the kitchen first. Can you grab me a water? Thank you. For reference, guys, he just did what he and I both do to each other. When I asked him to give me water, he goes, "Never." Only I don't do it quite that exaggerated. I'll just be like, "No. Why would I go get you a water? Get up and get it your own self." As I'm turning around and walking out the room.
Oh yeah, that's great to do. Just somebody asking me, just go no and walk away.
Yeah, but
Just,
do
as
it.
a matter of fact, no.
Yeah.
But do it. I mean, obviously.
I have developed, when I was serving, I have developed this tone where I will say no, and you won't hear me say no. What you hear is yes. Because no one responds to the fact that I just said no.
They just expect that you'll
They generally
automatically
say,
get it.
they just respond with thank you. And I do it even like outside of the restaurant. Thank you. Again, good night.
That's the same thing as when somebody says, like, how are you doing or something, just say, oh, I'm terrible, I'm about to die. And they'll say, okay, good. We can continue checking you out or something like that.
Yeah, it's nice to, I'm glad you're having a good day.
Yes.
I actually told someone, I had someone ask me that one day, and I said, this is the worst day of my life. My mother just died. And he
Wow.
looked at me and he said, well, I'm glad you're having such a... Wait, what? And I said, I'm joking, I'm having a great day.
Well, he caught it. He just was not
Yeah,
expecting
but he
that.
made it like halfway through what he was saying before he caught it. He's like, and he literally, it's like he's going, oh, that's great to hear. I'm having a good day too. Because I was like, oh, this is the worst day of my life. My mother just died. How are you? And he goes,
Oh.
oh yeah, it's a great day. I'm getting ready to get off work. I'm glad you're having a... What?
I've had someone explode on me for actually responding in a typical way. There was this employee at the grocery store, and she was just sitting there stocking something, and then I had to get something where she was stocking it. Common thing, right? So I said, excuse me, and she said, okay, thank you. Sorry I'm in your way. And I said, oh, no, you're fine. And then I grab it, and she goes, everyone, they always say that you're fine. Why do you say you're fine? And she started going on this little rant
Because
about
you
how...
are fine. It is not an inconvenience to me.
Yes.
Because you moved out of my way in a proper and polite manner. That's why I said you were fine.
I didn't say anything.
You're no longer inconveniencing me.
She spent 5 minutes going on about how people always say, you're fine. And it was that exact phrase that she always heard.
You know what?
Okay.
I could do the exact same thing with the clerks at the grocery store or wherever when you're checking out and they ask you how your day's doing. They aren't wanting a response. They're expecting you to throw the nicety, just like they gave you the nicety of asking how your day was. It is a token question. They don't actually want an answer.
But you can tell the ones that are paying attention, because if you respond, they'll say, oh, how was your day? And I said, I'm fine. How are you? Sometimes, like 10% of the time, they'll actually respond.
I'm fine. How are you is a very polite response.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually something that even at that point, you're still not having an active and engaged conversation, because not only at that point, not only did they not care how your day is actually going, you don't care how their day is actually going. So you've got two-way communication going on where you're not communicating with either person.
True. But it's interesting to see that how many actually respond.
I think niceties have a great and wonderful and necessary place in our society. So we were talking about my car buying experience. Okay, so moving past that, not only, yes, I was working with a friend, so you kind of expect when you go in and you've got an insider thing going on where the guy that he's going to be more honest with you, he's going to be more open with you, he's not going to try to push you into something that you probably don't want, he's not going to push a sale.
Mm-hmm.
But despite the fact that he was, an ex-coworker of mine whom I knew personally, all that did was add in some extra filler chit-chat. That's really all that did for us.
Otherwise, he was still very professional, as you'd expect from anyone?
Exactly. Otherwise, he still maintained that professional, I am providing you with a service decorum. And that is very, very good. But there is a lot of the car buying process with through CarMax that is not dependent on your sales rep translating legalese to
Okay.
When you go into CarMax, the price that they have posted on that car, there's no haggling. The price that they have posted on that car is what they have determined to be a fair market value price, and they will not negotiate on that. Now, you might say, well, that doesn't go in your favor, because if you can negotiate, you might be able to haggle that price down lower. But if they did that, I guarantee you that starting price would be $2,000 higher or
Right.
more than what they're wanting. Because that's what you do when you're selling something that you offer haggling on. You price it up front as being higher than what you want to get out of it, because you're not going to let
Right.
somebody haggle you down to the price the money that you need to get out of that car.
Exactly. Worst case scenario, you get what it
You
actually should be
have
valued at.
all dealerships, and generally all people selling a car, have this is the flat amount that I want to get out of this car, and I will not go lower than this.
Yeah.
And
I
then
mean,
they
in
take
general.
that number and they say, this is the number that I'm hoping to get out of this car. This is what I
Yes.
would really like to get out of this car. And it's still a reasonable number. Both numbers are generally reasonable numbers for the condition, age, and mileage on the car.
Right.
That's what a dealership does. What CarMax does is they say, this number right here is what we want to get out of that car, and we're going to tell you up front, this is the number we want to get out of that car. We won't go any lower than it, but we're not going to inflate the price to try to stick you with extra money. No, this is what we think is a fair market value for this car, and this is what we're going to sell it to you. Also, what they do, if you bring in a car to trade in, they take it back, they do a complete vehicle appraisal on it while you're out there shopping, and they come back and they say, you want to sell us this car, regardless of whether you're trading it in, this is what we've determined to be the value of your car, that we will purchase it from you. Now, I will tell you that they're taking what they would consider a fair market value, what they're going to sell it for, and they're going lower than that. Because you don't buy a car and then turn around and sell it for the same amount. Not if you want to make money. They're a business.
Of course.
Okay? I understand that. I respect that.
Sure.
That I fully respect. And you know what? If you want to get what the full value of that car is out of it, and you want to turn around and you want to sell it yourself, go for it. That is your prerogative. If you don't mind not getting a few, $2,000 or $3,000 from your car that you might or might not get selling on the market, I guarantee you won't get it from a dealer. I guarantee you won't get full value for your car from a dealer. No dealer is going to buy your car for full market value, because they need to make a profit off of it when they resell it.
Right.
And they're
here,
not going
even,
to inflate they're not going to take your inflated price and inflate it more and take a chance on only getting fair market value out of the car.
Mhm.
No. So they come back and they say, this is what we've determined to be fair market value that we're willing to pay for your car. Now, I bet you, and I go, and I haven't actually finished this process yet. I haven't drove my Hyundai home yet, because I didn't have all the paperwork that I needed to have there with me. Because I didn't go in there planning to buy a car. I wasn't thinking about this. I didn't go in there planning to buy this car. So, but they come back and they say, this is what we're willing to pay for your car. We aren't going to go any higher than that. You can't push that number higher. And we aren't going to turn around and, cut that down lower. And they give you a sheet of paper that says, you hand us the keys and the title today, and this is how much money we'll give you. And you can sell them your car without buying a car.
And they'll just take it no matter what?
They will buy it off of you, even without you buying a car.
Okay. So you're guaranteed to be able to sell it there, even if, you could take it somewhere else and perhaps get it from an individual buyer a little more, but you can
But
for
you're
sure sell it there.
guaranteed to get that number from them. And I mean, it has a time frame on it. Obviously, it has a time frame on it. Because
Sure.
It's based off of the condition of the car, right at that specific moment in time. You might wreck the car on your way home. You might put 30,000 miles on it over the course of the next 6 months. They don't know what you're going to do. So yeah, it has a time frame, and I don't know
Obviously.
exactly what that time frame is. I would guesstimate that it's probably about a week, and that if you take the car home, they're going to do a cursory re-evaluation of it just to make sure nothing major has happened. Because like I said, you could pull out of their parking lot and totaled.
Right, of course. They're not going to pay full price for a totaled car.
Of course not. They're not going to offer a bargain when there's been something major change that's happened.
Well, you totaled it. We've got half the car now, but since we promised you that price, we'll honor it. No. Although that would be funny.
In addition to that, as you're going through this process of, putting in, your car's finances, they go through, they contact the bank that has the loan out on your car, verify the amount that's on the loan. They pay off the loan to the bank. They get the title transfer work taken care of. They do 100% of it for you. 100% of that background paperwork they do for you. They run your credit check, determine if you're qualified for the loan. They figure out what your appraisal value is on your car. They figure out, what the loan is, how much it's going to, how much you're going to have left off after they buy the car. And then they present it to you. And they present it to you in English, in plain, old, simple, layman terms, English. So I came back in for my test drive, knowing that I wanted that Hyundai. And we sit down, and we immediately went in the computer, and we look up, and my appraisals come back. He pulls it up on the screen. And I'm expecting about $10,000 out of my car, like I said, based off of fair market value, research on the internet. And it pops up, and it says, we will give you $12,000 to buy your car today.
Wow, that's nice.
$2,000 higher than what I was expecting it to be. And it would, honestly, I'd already decided I was buying the car.
And that really just pushed you over the edge.
Selling my car right then. No, it didn't even push me over the edge. I had already jumped off of that diving board, okay? And as I'm falling, that was just...
A box of chocolates came down and presented themselves to you.
It started falling down at the exact same rate as me and just fell there, and I was eating,
And then the salesman came down and started feeding you the chocolates.
Yeah. It was the icing on the cake. It literally was the icing on the cake. That was nice, and it got better.
Mm-hmm.
It got better. Something else that CarMax does that I guarantee you your dealership 90% likely will not do for you, and 100% likely buying a car from the previous owner won't do for you. They offer you, and it is an offer, you do have to purchase it, but no matter how many miles is on the car, no matter what condition the car is in, of course they're not going to sell you a car that's not in good condition, but no matter how many miles on it, no matter how many years on it, they offer you a company guaranteed warranty. Not through the manufacturer, through the company.
Okay. For how long?
Well, they have different plans.
Right.
They have, and it's a graph. It works very similar to the way the commercial healthcare thing works. You have plans that have varying deductibles.
Okay.
Starts at $50.
$50. Okay, that's pretty easy to meet.
That is really easy to meet. Next one, 100. Next one, 200, and the highest one is 300. And
300 is still really easy to meet.
And you have the amount of miles and years that it covers.
Okay.
First one is 10,000 miles. A really cursory, you're going to put that on in a year.
Right.
It's like 10,000 miles or 4 years. So
okay.
You're gonna hit the mile cap before you hit the year
obviously.
Cap. The next one is like 50,000 miles.
Okay.
The next one is 100,000 miles, and then the best one is 150,000 miles or 6 years.
Yeah, you're going to have to do quite a bit of driving to meet that.
Yeah, you're going to have to do quite a bit of driving to meet that. And of course, like all things, like with all warranties, it's 150,000 miles or 6 years, whichever one comes first.
Right. Right.
Okay. You know what? I'm cool with that. I am totally cool with that. Because you know what? Most cars... Oh, and it's 100% transferable. If you decide you want to sell that car, that can go to the new buyer. You've already bought it and paid for it.
Okay.
It goes on to the new buyer. It's still there. It's transferable. And if you
So,
sell your car back to CarMax, it transfers over to your new car. I mean, of course, you know,
what if you just like plain sell it back? Did they give you
I don't know.
the
I haven't
amount
gotten to
play?
that point.
Okay.
I don't know.
Probably not, but
I'm not going to
just
do that more than like,
I would hope not.
no, I'm not going to do
I
that.
mean, after this rousing advertisement for CarMax, by the way, if CarMax wants to put an advertisement picture right, they can put it right here. I'm sure you would appreciate the sponsorship money.
Or you can put it up in this range right here. Yeah, that's a nice white wall.
There you go. Before every show, you can give the pitch.
Yeah, we're kidding. We're kidding.
This tea time is sponsored by CarMax.
I'm not meaning to product place, guys. But this was just. I'm doing a review of the experience that I had, and it was absolutely phenomenal experience.
No, it's fine. I mean, a lot of people normally associate actually harping on a product as quote unquote selling out, but it's perfectly fine to actually say good things about a product. It's not free advertising or being a fanboy or anything like that.
Well, I'm glad that at least one of my viewers is cool with this.
It's not selling out.
Thank you. So,
And I mean that unsarcastically.
moving forward with it, that pops up, and the plan's a reasonable price. The lowest okay, so how it goes: the higher the deductible, the cheaper the price. The fewer
Okay.
miles, the cheaper the price. So the 50, the $100 or the $300 deductible with the 10,000 miles, and I don't even remember if it was 10,000 miles. It was a cursory amount of miles that you were going to put on before you got to the end of the years. That warranty, it was less than $1,000. It was like, now granted, I mean, it was close to $1,000, but you were looking at like $700
Okay.
for that warranty, and that's a good price.
And does that just cover anything, no matter what?
Anything but glass and
Anything
regular
but
maintenance.
glass. Okay.
Well, it is actually required in most states that your insurance, if you're in a wreck that causes the glass to break, they have to replace that.
Okay.
Even with like basic liability coverage, that is one of the big things that is on there that they have to replace is cracked or broken windshields and windows.
Well, the thing I was seeing a question about, so basically if you go in for an oil change, you can't just make that go towards your deductible.
No, they don't give you your oil
Okay.
change for free. They don't rotate and balance your tires for free. If you run over what do they call those, the strips that they put down on the roads at blockades?
Spike strips.
Yeah, if you run over a spike strip and blow out your tires, they're not going to cover that. But if you're sitting there in the park, if you come out to your car and somebody has opened up a door and has got that nice little dent down the side of your door frame where they've opened up a door on you, it covers that. If
Okay.
you're in a wreck, it covers everything that your insurance doesn't cover. And that deductible that I told you about,
Mm-hmm.
those numbers only apply to going to a repair shop that is not CarMax. CarMax has its own
Okay.
repair shop. If you go into a CarMax repair shop, they knock $50 off of that price. That
Okay.
means if you got that $50 deductible plan,
It's free.
it's free. You take it to CarMax and they fix it for free. They knock $50 off of it. So the $300 one becomes $250. The $150, the $100 one becomes becomes $50. The $200 one becomes $150.
Okay. That's
Woo!
decent. Woo.
That's awesome. So the one that I looked at, I knew right off the bat I wanted to do the 150,000 miles on it because, duh. If you're getting a warranty package, you don't want a cursory warranty package. Now, I actually considered getting the 100,000 mile one because chances are, this car already had 20,000 miles on it. Chances are I'm not going to put 100,000 miles on it. Chances are I'm probably going to get the car to about 100,000 miles, and I'm probably going to sell it.
Okay.
Okay? But I might not. If I really like that car and I take good care of that car, which I do take good care of my cars, and it's still up and running, and it's a Hyundai. And I don't know how much you guys have heard about Hyundais, but I have a lot of friends that are car people. And Hyundai and Kias are, now that they've really started getting going, are just as good as Toyotas and Hondas were in the beginning. In fact,
I can't say anything.
Hyundai and Kia are starting to, obviously, the newer Hyundais and Kias haven't reached 100,000 miles yet, but their newer models are safer, more fuel efficient, and have longer lifespans, are starting to be better on those fields than the current Toyotas and Hondas.
Take your
Now,
word for it.
a lot of people are probably going to disagree with that statement. I'm only repeating what my car friends have told me in the past. That's what they've been telling me.
And speaking from experience as well, it is going to be different for every single person.
Because it depends on how you maintain your car, how you drive your car. Have you been in a wreck?
Yep.
Do you treat the inside of your car nice? Do you clean it out? You know, that has an effect on how things work. Because you get debris and dust in your car, and, you know, that stuff gets into the wires. I mean, the cars aren't airtight, guys. They're not completely segregated. You know, your internal workings of your car aren't completely segregated from the actual part that you sit in. So if you don't treat your car nice, your car's not going to last as long.
Plus, you get mice, and if they get into the heating, that really stinks.
Yes, yeah, and it's almost impossible to get the smell out.
Yes.
I actually had a friend who their cup holders were on the center console, which was really odd. Like, not down on the side on the center. No, they were like up here on the center console, and that was the only cup holders they had. And they had one of those big fountain drinks that's actually too big to get into most cup holders. And they had to make a sudden turn, and when they turned, it was a sudden right turn that they had to make.
I can see where this is going.
They knocked the thing out, and it actually, this soda, because they had vents that were down in the bottom. Okay, they put the cup holders up here, they put the vents down in the bottom. So they knocked that over, and it just drained down in there. And I don't remember what he told me, what that liquid was, but his car stank so bad. It was just gross. Anytime we would go anywhere, I insisted that I had to drive, even though I hated driving my car at the time, because the smell of I couldn't even, if he had his windows down and he was parked next to me, I had to move my car because the smell would come out, and it would bother me
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, well, we think that there was actually mold in it, and I'm actually really, really allergic
That's
to mold.
Probably it. And I know to actually clean it out, you have to take probably depends on the car, but you have to take quite a few things apart.
Yes, to get those apart. It's pretty
And it
bad.
sucks.
So, I don't remember where I was starting. Oh, we were talking about the warranty.
Yes.
Anyway, treat your cars nice. Word of advice. Take it as you will. You don't have to listen.
That was almost a rhyme.
So obviously the best plan is going to be the 150,000 miles, $50 deductible. That plan, I didn't actually look at it too much because I already knew I was probably going to go with the plan that I wanted with the largest deductible to get the price down lower. But looking at that plan, and it laid it all out there in a graph, and it told you flat and straight, this is what this cost. There's no fees. There's no extra stuff. There's no, when you get your cell phone bill, your cell phone bill, when you go in to talk to them, they say, okay, this plan that you want to be on is going to cost you, $49.
Right.
And then you get your first bill and it's $50.
Yep, because they have some extra fees on there.
Because there's there's processing fees, there's the shipping fees, there's the fact that you got a paper bill fee, there's the installation fee.
I really love it when you go in there and it's just like other fees.
And it's like, what other fees? They don't detail them out. They just throw them on there and charge you extra money. But they don't tell you that they're going to charge you that. And dealerships are the same way. There's commission fees, there's this fee, there's that fee, there's these fees, there's service charges. And they're all laid out there in really fine print on the contract, and you initialed it.
Yep.
You probably didn't read it. I didn't. So, moving forward, yeah, it has all of this laid out in plain English. So I look at it, and I think that $50 deductible, 100, and of course these are by car.
Right.
These are per car. This is not across the board. You won't walk into a CarMax tomorrow and buy, a brand new. What's a really expensive car?
Just say a Corvette.
A brand new Corvette with all the trimmings on it and get the warranty for this price. They're not stupid. I guarantee you. Now, granted, I didn't price the Corvette with all the bells and whistles, but I guarantee you they're not stupid. They aren't going to be the same price. They're scaled per car, per mileage, per state, per.
For
I'm
everything.
trying to say per status effect of the car.
If they are poisoned, then it might be higher.
Actually, if they were poisoned, it would probably. Well, yeah, it would probably be higher.
Pre-existing condition.
Higher risk. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, the $50 one, I want to say that $150,000 $50 deductible warranty was about $2,500.
Okay.
Which I got an extended warranty on my car when I bought it on my Caliber when I bought it from the dealership. It was an extra several. It was a lot. The monthly, like I said, they didn't actually tell me how much the difference is in the price. What they told me was, well, there's this plan and there's this plan and there's this plan, and this is how it'll change your monthly. For their best one with the lowest deductible, my payment went from $200, the bare bones payment on my car was $175 a month.
Okay.
The one with the best, highest mileage, lowest deductible was price went from $175 a month to $400 and some odd a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Now, the reason it jumped that much is because it changed how they do the payments on that warranty is different.
Yeah, it sounds like it's over a shorter period of time.
You're paying that off under a shorter period of time. So less is going towards your principal, more is going toward this. So that's why it jumped so high. The one that I ended up going with took my car to. It was a 1 year, 10,000 mile. 1 year, 10,000 mile warranty. That was, obviously in addition to the manufacturer's warranty. And it took my price from 170-ish. It was actually closer to 180-ish to 208. So it was an extra $20 a month.
Okay, it's a little more reasonable.
A lot more reasonable. So, even when, and what it was, Snark, is you paid for it over the course of however much the amount was, you paid for it in monthly installments over the course of the length of time of the warranty. So when you finished paying the warranty.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it changed a lot depending on how
It changed a lot because a lot of these warranties, a lot of dealerships won't do a warranty past like 2 years.
Really?
2 years. It starts from the time your manufacturer's warranty ends and then goes.
Okay.
So mine actually just ended now that I've had the car for 2 years, which is really funny because Dodge has been blowing up they've been sending me so much spam mail trying to get me to purchase a new warranty.
Well, hey, it's for a lot of people, they don't ever use it, it's free money.
Yeah. But so, that $2,500 and it didn't, how they calculated it was it split up over the length of the loan, not over the length of the warranty. Which, like I said, the biggest one was $150,000 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Which they generally don't do car loans that last 6 years. It's 72 months, which is 5 years, unless my math is wrong. Check my math.
17 months or 5 years. That is 60 months.
5 years is okay. So 72 months is 6 years. So never mind. Ignore me. Apparently, I can't math.
Hang on, I'm really tired, so I just got to make sure. But yeah, 60 months,
Okay.
5 years.
Okay. So there you go. So yeah. So there's that. And then we go to the next screen. Um, and on the next screen, it lays out these are your APRs versus, these are the APRs for these term plans. So it starts off with the shortest one was 30 months. Here's your interest rate, 6.34. That's really good. 6.34 is a really good interest rate.
Did they have the 6 months for zero interest thing?
No, they weren't offering 6 months zero interest. But you know what?
Okay.
Hey, I'm cool with that. You're upfront with me. This is what the term is. This is what the interest rate's going to be. This is what the monthly payment with that interest rate would be.
Reasonable.
I am totally cool with that. You're laying this out to me. And yes, there was some small print across the bottom of the screen. I read the
What
small
did that
print.
say?
It was stupid shit. It wasn't something they were trying to pull over on you. Let me rephrase that. It was legalese that was something to keep you from suing them because you were being an unreasonable and stupid, fat, lazy American.
Okay.
And I only say American on that because I happen to live in America. I'm sure that there are stupid, fat, lazy people who will sue people for stupid reasons elsewhere in the world.
I'm sure there are. I know there are.
But it wasn't them saying, APR is subject to change based off of, justified rates, and, that can change, whatever, and then, suddenly you're going to end up with a car that has 12% interest rate on it.
Right. Not an excuse for them to just suddenly change it after you've had it for a couple months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So 30 months, 6.34 interest rate. And you know what? Several of those had 6.34 interest rates, including, it went all the way down to the 60-month. They had a 30, a 45, and a 60. So the 5-year one was still 6.34. And then, in addition to that, they had a 75, and there were two more. I think it was, went 60, 70, and then 75 months.
Okay.
I don't know. It's odd. Whatever. And I don't even remember if 75 was the biggest number. The last two that were on the list, the interest rate jumped up to 7.34. You know what? That's still a reasonable interest rate. I know why the interest rate goes up over that longer time frame. It's because they're holding the loan for you for a longer time frame. There's a higher chance that you're going to default on the loan. And so they want to get all the money that they can get. It's good business sense.
Sure.
I'm not going to hold that against them. And those interest rates, again, you aren't going to be able to walk into CarMax and get the, $80,000 Corvette with all the bells and whistles with a 6.34 interest rate unless you have amazingly good credit and make a lot of money. Your APR is based off of your credit rating and how much money you make and how much of a risk factor you are. The higher risk factor you are, the less money you make, the worse your credit is, the more expensive the car is, the longer the term. The longer the term, the more debt you have, the harder it's going to be for, the higher your interest rate is going to be. That's just common sense. That's not something you need to get angry with them about. I have a really phenomenal credit score for my age. I'm in the 800 range. Sorry.
Good.
No, I'm not. I'm in the 700 range. Sorry. Mom
Okay,
is
that's still good.
the upper 800 range because we were actually talking about her credit score recently, and she's in the upper 800 range. She's like 8 something. For relative interest, if you have a score of 600-ish, what are you looking at?
I'm not looking at anything.
Not you.
Oh.
Yes. It's in the closet. Why are you looking for a box of cables? A USB to... I don't think... I have a USB to USB little short one, but I don't think I have a big one. I might. Check the box. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. My brother came in and he's like, don't you have a box full of random assorted computer cables and stuff? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, where is it? Well, you heard my half of the conversation at least.
Yes.
Yeah, so, yeah, sorry about that. Back on topic.
But you got a really good credit rating, 700 plus.
Yeah, I'm at a 700 plus. Good credit rating, generally, if you have a credit rating that the number is in the 600 across the 3 credit people, you've got good credit. At least this is true in the U.S. I don't know how credit affects you in Europe and other places.
I don't know, honestly.
There. But in the U.S., if your credit rating is in the 600 range, you've got a good credit rating. If you are in your 20s and your credit rating is in the 600 range, pat yourself on the back, because it is really hard for a 20-year-old to build up their credit score to 600 in that amount of time. Because you can't even start building credit until you turn 18 and can have utility bills and credit cards and crap in your name. Because you don't build up credit by holding a checking account or by having a savings account.
Yeah, that's correct. If you haven't had any type of credit interaction at all, you basically count as having crap credit.
Now, the good news is out for all of you college students out there, and I'm sorry to divulge again, but I think this is something important because I believe most of my viewers and most of Brother's viewers are probably on the young age. And because I'm at this, I'm at this point of talking about the financing with the car thing, I think it's kind of important to talk about some credit ratings for at least a little bit. So forgive me for divulging.
No, it's perfectly fine. It's important.
To build up your credit, if you are, a college student and you don't have a credit card and all you've got is your debit card and your savings account and your checking account, what you can do to build up your credit is there's a few really easy, simple things that aren't going to cost you any extra money. Put your cell phone in your name.
Yep.
Your cell phone counts as a utility. It counts as a utility bill. If you have a utility in your name, it will build credit. If you have a lease with your name on it, it will build credit.
Even student housing will help.
Even student housing, but it has to be in your name. It can't be in your parents' name. It has to be in your name. So, there's that. Another thing is to get a small loan. Most college students, honestly, you're probably driving a little beater of a car that your parents bought for you that was $600 or $700 when you were 16 years old because they were afraid you're going to wreck something. I'm not telling you to go out and buy a new car and get a car loan. No. But get student loans. Simply having a student loan in your name, even if you're not paying on it, even if it's not, even if you're not getting a bill on it, because if you have a student loan that's a subsidized government loan, you do not have to make payments as long as you are enrolled at least half time. Even if you are not making those payments, even if you don't have to make those payments, if that loan is in your name, you are building credit. Now, granted, that is slow. All of those 3 things that I just told you are very slow ways to build credit. But any credit is better than no credit. In fact, I would go so far as to say bad credit is better than no credit.
It is, because essentially when you go to anyone, and even utilities, they're going to look at your credit rating. And if you have no credit, they don't know what you're doing.
They're going to charge you. Utilities will do this.
You're going to put down a big fat deposit.
You're going to put down a huge deposit, and you probably won't get that deposit back. They're probably going to issue you a non-refundable deposit. Now, they might refund part of it, but yeah, that goes on. And when you go to get your first apartment, once you've finished college, because nobody wants to move back in with their parents. For those of you who are living with your parents, I understand that you are probably living with your parents due to financial or personal needs otherwise. But I think you'll probably agree with me that it wasn't your ideal choice. It was just the choice that worked best for you.
Hey, my parents are saints. How dare you?
Hey, my parents are saints. Oh, okay, my parents aren't saints. But I love my parents wholeheartedly. But you know what? Since I've been on my own, you couldn't pay me to move back in with my mom. You couldn't pay. Okay, possibly temporarily. I'm totally cool with going home temporarily. Like less than a month. I'm cool with going up and spending one night up there. You get me there for about a week, and I'm probably going to have had enough and be looking for my own place. But honestly, you couldn't pay me to live with my mother again.
Well, I'm glad this is recorded.
Unless it was absolutely, yeah. And Mom, if you ever watch this, you know I love you. You're the best mom in the whole world, and I would do anything for you. And believe me when I say this, I would not hesitate to move back in with you if I needed to. But let me tell you, I'm sure you'll agree with me on this. If I don't need to, it ain't happening. When you get older and you're not capable of living on your own anymore, I'll move you back in with me, and you can come live with me. But I'm not going to move in with you as long as we're both fully capable, of functioning on our own and supporting ourselves on our own. And I think you'll agree with me.
I'm not saying anything.
In fact, you know what? I know my mother agrees with me. You know how I know?
How?
Well, because when I was getting ready to move back home, back to the home area, and she was talking about, she one time mentioned the idea of me moving in with her. And then she immediately turned around and said, actually, you know what, we're looking at buying a house. We would probably end up buying a duplex or a house that had a mother-in-law suite in it, or an apartment space in it that's separate, so you could have your own space.
That was an indicator right there.
I don't want you to live with me.
It's okay if you live with me as long as I don't see you.
Yeah, as long as you're in your own space. I'm happy to help you out. And it was so funny because she was actively looking at buying a new home around this exact same time, and she had already picked out a home that she liked, and she started doing internet searches for and it's a standalone single family home. It's not a duplex. She started looking at additional homes, even though she'd already decided she really liked this home, and that was the home that she wanted to buy, and it was the great price, and it was, the signs were all there that, and this is how my mom was phrasing it. God came down and said, hey, language disclosure, hey, dumbass, this is the one you want. Even though God came down and said that to her, she started looking for duplexes.
Wow. So, yeah.
Okay,
Can't go against
God
that,
came
though.
down and told my mom she was a dumbass. That didn't happen for this particular instance. That happened when I was little bitty, and that's why she went back to college.
Okay.
That's an entirely different story. Oh, I'm not going to get distracted by that, even though that is an awesome story, and I really ought to tell you it, Stark. I don't know that my mom would appreciate me putting it on the internet.
When we go over real estate or something like that, perhaps we can bring that one out.
No, it wasn't about real estate. It was about going back to college.
Okay. When we go to college. Ooh, college. That's a good top. There's going to be so many topics about college.
I know. I know. Okay, so moving forward.
Right. Credit. You had good credit.
Building up your credit. Those are three basic things that will start to help you slowly and surely build up your credit. And you need to start now, while you're still in college, while you're still living with your parents or in dorm housing. Because if you don't, when you get out into the big bad world, it's going to be hard, and it's going to cost you a lot of extra money and a lot of extra headache than it would normally.
If you're having problems getting a card, check with your bank, the one that you have a checking account in. Sometimes they will issue cards.
Credit card, and they have student credit, and most major credit card companies. I got mine through Capital One. They give you this, and it's a stupidly low amount of credit that it has on it. $500.
But that's enough to pay off utilities.
$500.
That could be all you need.
I used it to buy gas, and I got home from buying gas every time I put $20 in my car. This was back when gas was cheaper, obviously.
Yeah.
I put $20 in my car. I went home. I hopped on my online bill pay, and I immediately sent a payment into that card for $20. I never got charged a cent of interest until I got stupid and wasn't using the card properly, but that's a completely different story. About properly managing your credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be another thing that we should probably hit on whenever we talk about college, if we talk about college. But you know what? It was building up credit. I had my cell phone in my name. It was building up credit. I was living at home, but I was paying bills that were in my name. I got a Victoria's Secret card in my name. That's something, if you can't get a credit card, chances are you can go to a store, and most, uh, uh, what do they call them? Outlet stores? No.
Hmm. Well, retail.
No, that's not the word I'm looking for. Whatever. Most retail stores will offer a basically a store credit card. It's only good at that particular store, but you get it, and then it'll build up credit simply by having it, even if you never put any money on it. Even if you never charge any money on it, the simple fact that you have it in your hand will build credit. Now, if you want to effectively do it, what you do is you put $25 on it, and you carry that $25 and you pay the minimum payment for 6 or 7 months, and then you pay it off, and then you put $25 or $100 on it, some small cursory amount that you can pay off easily that isn't going to charge you a whole lot of interest, but you carry a balance on it and pay interest and make your payments on time every time.
Yep.
You don't want to spend a large amount and pay it off immediately. You don't want to hold a large amount on your card for a long time, and you don't want to hold nothing on your card ever. Now, you can do that. Don't get me wrong. You can do that. That's fine. It'll build up credit faster if you hold a small amount, a small carryover balance on it while making timely, slightly larger than the minimum payments.
Yep.
And those are the 4 things that you can do right now to start building your credit up, so that when you get graduated and you get that, I'm going to call it a grown-up job. I'm not going to call it a real job, because I sincerely disagree with the phrasing of calling a job that applies a more professional setting, a more grown-up setting, a real job.
There are jobs that don't require college that I greatly respect. People work a lot harder at those. Mm-hmm. Those are real jobs.
Yes, I'm the same way. So I'm going to call it your grown-up job, because there is a difference between jobs that you do when you're in high school and in college to get by, so that you can buy your ramen noodles or put gas in your car,
right,
to go out and go to the movies with your girlfriend, and the job that you use to support yourself. Now, that does not mean that if you are using a job that a lot of people use temporarily. Because I know people, okay, working at McDonald's. I know people who support themselves and their family flipping burgers at McDonald's. And you know what? Hands up to you. You have a grown-up job, and you are making it work. The difference is, how do you use the money that you get from the paycheck? That's the difference between a grown-up job and just a job, and a not grown-up job. I don't want to call it an adolescent job, because then the 18-year-olds out there are going to throw a fit because I'm 18, I'm not a kid anymore, I'm a legal adult. And no, I'm not making fun of you. I did the exact same thing at 18.
I hate to interrupt real quick, but do you mind if we pause real quick? My bladder is about to explode.
Okay, I'm going to cut this off for a second, guys. We'll be back with you in just a few minutes. I actually need to grab some ibuprofen and eat some potty.
Yes.
Where's the mouse?
I don't know!